Welcome to One Raceway for the final round of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. Yes, we're here in Goulburn, just a couple of hours southwest of Sydney. It's a fantastic revamped venue, isn't it, Mel? This is incredible.
Oh, they've done such a fabulous job here. New corners, track extension. Brilliant to see already some spectators piling up on the hill for an amazing viewing spectacle.
Of course, it is day one. We're going to see a lot of qualifying today, including the TA2 muscle cars, which will then progress into a top 8 shootout. Now, they're doing just under 1 minute around here. This is going to be super fast.
And those Hoosier tyres yesterday were screaming their heads off through turn 1, and a few of the drivers found and exceeded the new track limit. So, yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Let's have a quick talk about championships. There's 4 people in contention in TA2. That's going to go down to the wire. RX8s, there's still 3 or 4 people. But Legend Cars, there is 11 possible championship winners this weekend. And to double that, it's also the Australian title. How good is the racing going to be?
Oh, it's still literally anything can happen, and it's fantastic. It's going to come down to the wire tomorrow afternoon in almost every category.
On top of that, we've also got the Formula Vs here this weekend and the stock cars as well, so it's going to be great to see them get around this tight, windy little track. The drivers are super busy out there though, aren't they?
Yeah, a lot of the drivers have been saying they just don't get a rest here at all. Very, very physical, and just not even, a few of them commented, I don't think I took a breath for the whole lap. So I think some tired and weary people by the end of tomorrow.
Well, championship points. Josh Haynes at the moment in the TA2 muscle cars, he is leading it, and he's got a reasonable margin over Graham Cheney, who's not here this weekend. Unfortunately, his son Tyler Cheney is racing up there in the Gold Coast, so not being here is going to change things. But Brad Gartner, he's still within pouncing distance to get past Josh Haynes. If Josh Haynes, doesn't have a great weekend, but really he's going to fight out for that second position.
And Brad was super fast yesterday too, so, obviously hasn't given up yet, and it's going to be great to watch.
Mark Crutcher as well, of course, I've got the Serco Masterclass. He's leading that 4th position in the championship, and mathematically, if something happens to those 2 young guns, he can still get up to number 1. Wouldn't that be an incredible feat, this championship?
I think he was thinking that the championship ring was looking quite good on his finger yesterday too.
Oh, yeah, they get a championship ring as well on top of that. The Formula RX8s, it's really 2 people who have been fighting it out all season. Brock Payne had an incredible 9 wins in a row over the last couple of rounds, and we saw at Winton last time around. Rob Bowden just got him on 1. Geoff Connell also got a win. So we saw that move around a bit. Ivan Vanagiato, what an incredible personality that was to have a win as well.
An emotional podium for him, that's for sure. And interestingly, yesterday, the number 1 and number 2 cars both had problems. So we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully they're back on track and up the front again today to fight it out.
Yeah, repairs overnight for Rob Bowden, so hopefully he can fix that as well. And it looks like they might have the car sorted. Legend Cars Australia, though, we've got over 25 cars here this weekend. It doubles up as their Australian title. So there's 2 things on the line here. Ryan Pring at the moment's leading the championship there. He's also done the fastest qualifier too earlier today, so he's going to sit on P1. He's already got an Australian title under his belt. He's only 19 years of age. Imagine if he could come away with all of it this weekend.
So at 19, he's already 5 years older now than the newest member to Legends, who's only 14. But interesting when you've got people going for a championship, and then you've got the people literally coming in for that Australian title with nothing to lose, and it always makes for exciting racing.
I think Billy Finnegan is one of those ones, the Irishman. He's absolutely incredible. He's missed half of the season, but he's really looking for that Australian championship. However, yesterday we caught up with some of our TA2 drivers to find out what's going to happen in this final round. The TA2 Muscle Car Championship all comes down to the 6th and final round. 3 drivers are in contention of taking it out and raising the championship trophy. Who will leave the final round with the championship ring and become the 2024 TA2 Muscle Car Champion? I'm at the front of me. What's that?
HIA TA2 Muscle Car Series framed by Hi-Tec Steel Framing. In the not too distant future, but out on track right now, we have the qualifying session for the Formula RX8s here at One Raceway. Now, I've never been here before, but walking in here on Thursday and looking at the changes that the Shelley family have made to this facility, you can see how much work has gone on. It was a sad day when the old Wakefield Park, as it was formerly known, was pretty much effectively shut down. But the Shelley family came on board and got together with the local councils, and they've just made some amazing changes to the facility that will be ongoing. And look, the smallest circuit that we have on our calendar, but it is already becoming a very, very cool facility. The Formula RX-8's out for their qualifying session, as Matt alluded to in our opener, and welcome back to commentary, Mr. Kavanagh. Problems for first and second in the points here yesterday in practice for the Formula RX-8's. Brock Payne, they actually changed a coil pack overnight. They chased that yesterday, just lamenting a little bit of a lack of car speed. Rob Bowden, who was fast, had an oil leak that they thought was causing a slipping clutch. They went back into Goulburn last night, found a hoist, got it up, pulled the gearbox out of it, actually found it had a damaged rear main seal. So that was more than likely the issue for Bowden. So both of them a little bit on the back foot going into this qualifying session, Matt.
Yes, just caught up with the Bowden crew just before down there in pit lane, and yes, they're hoping that the clutch is all good under that. There is a little bit of an O-ring behind that rear main that they just didn't want to touch, because coming into the final weekend, and you look at the points, it's 14 points difference between him and Brock Payne coming into this. However, throw into the championship mix there that they do have a drop round, so they'll drop their worst point scoring round, which means it actually blows out to a 15 points. Now, only 20 points on offer for a win. The biggest thing for me this season for Brock Payne has been that not only 9 in a row wins has helped him out, but he has been super quick in qualifying. You get an extra bonus point for that.
That's going to be very, very important here, and especially here at One Raceway, where being the smallest track that we contest this year's Hi-Tec Super Series Championship on, track position is very, very important, and there is definitely an emphasis on taking advantage of someone else making a mistake ahead of you to get the passes and make them stick, because there's not a huge amount of braking opportunities here. For pretty much most of the lap, you are literally in a corner and on the wheel the whole time. There were some very, very tired drivers around the pit area here last night.
Yes, forearms were burning, weren't they, for some of them out there? And I think you're right. It's that we don't have the traditional style where you go into a corner and you can brake late while you're straight and then turn in. A lot of braking is done while the steering wheel is turned, so you've got to be careful about not pinching a brake there and blocking up a tyre, but also, like you say, it's not going to be that big dive down the inside that we see from other more traditional tracks. So very interesting out there. Of course, we saw at some of the older corners from the old Wakefield days here, especially turn number 7, that used to have a little bit of concrete on the inside. That's now gone, so you're not going to go as far, and the ripple strips aren't as wide as what we've seen on other tracks, so you're not going to be able to use them as much. It's really only coming out of that brand new final corner there where you can really go over, and they were talking about track limits today at drivers briefing, and everyone was interested about when they're going to get penalised for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Sort of turns 1 and 2 has a big runoff area on the backside of those corners, and the final sequence 11, 12 and 13. So this place used to be, I think, 10 corners, 2.2 kilometres long. It's now out to 2.35 with the changes that have been made. A lot of new curbing, a lot of new surface. So the track was pretty green here yesterday. Wonderful, wonderful conditions though, and as all of the classes have been going out and putting a little bit more rubber down, it has been getting faster and evolving throughout the weekend. So Payne is at the top of the timesheets right now for Formula RX-8s with a 109.7690 and only 0.005 over guess who?
Rob Bowden. So we're going to go to 1 and 2 once again. It's going to be an incredible fight this weekend. I can't wait to see exactly what happens, because you're going to have to be on the edge of your seats in terms of whether they make a mistake or not. Ivan Vartagiato in third. Now, yesterday he said he struggled a little bit with setup on this car. Of course, you can't do this on the simulator anymore, and that's a lot of background he's had, and a lot of the drivers use a lot of sim racing to do their practice throughout the months leading up or the weeks leading up to these tracks. Well, One Raceway, we're the first car category, national category to come here. So no one has been on these modified corners as well as that brand new turns 11, 12 and 13. Yeah, so absolutely. Very, very different. In fact, I think when we were at round 5 of the Hi-Tec World Super Series at Winton, the round Australian Superbikes were here at One Raceway. They were the first big race meeting here on the new configuration. Pretty sure the Superbike lap record ended at the weekend in the 59. So we've already seen 59s from the TA2s. Looking forward to the Hyperx's with the Australian Drivers' Championship a little bit later on today, because
They were in the 55s here yesterday in practice. And again, this track should continue to get faster.
Yeah, that's incredible speed, isn't it? I mean, the TA2 muscle cars cracked into the 59s, but let's talk about all the cars out there, though, when it comes to tyres on this track. Now, it's a brand new surface, so we're not going to see as much rubber, I suppose, what we see at traditional tracks. It will rubber up throughout the weekend, and although we had a -1 this morning when we got out of bed,
it was a touch chilly.
The sun is beaming down. It is a glorious day, and when you're out in the sun, that means it's going to warm that track up out there. Now, for a majority of the lap, they are pushing on that rear left tyre. Now, that's going to be across every category with how much they're working around here as we get on board with Thomas Derwin. You can see a lot of right-hand corners here, and they're not using a whole lot of brake. You can really hear the modulation in the throttle if we listen carefully as they get around. And I think the biggest thing through the back section of this is we're not getting top gear. That is only down the main straight where they're actually getting enough flow in the car to use top gear.
Yeah, and we talk about that first corner sequence, 1, 2 to 3. You're actually not using a traditional apex like you've just seen there. That's the top end of the track. 1 and 2, you're actually running pretty much through the centre to set the run up to 3 to get your preferred line. So there's some very, very different lines. The one that stands out for me is the new sequence, which I'm going to call the carousel. I don't know if it has an official name yet. Turn 8 through the infield, which is sort of effectively the hairpin. They call it the fish hook here with the locals. We heard a couple of names that we hadn't heard before at Winton at the previous round, aka Mr. Crutcher, with the, what was the name of the two top corners up the top of the circuit, sort of 8, 9, 7, 8 and 9?
Oh no, it's the back ends, but it's got some more affectionate names.
So that new section, the carousel, there are probably 3 or 4 different lines for some of these different cars. The TA2 with bigger horsepower, bigger tyre, there's a preferred line, and then there's a line that if you get it wrong, it is just going to hurt the tyre. We saw a little bit of that yesterday, and the lines were constantly changing as, was that Thomas Derwin?
That's Ed Philippi.
Oh, Ed and Philippi.
Yeah, he's pushing the young gun out of Victoria. He's done amazingly good this season, Ed. I mean, currently sitting 6th in the championship points, but first year out of go-karting. Doesn't really come from a motorsport background, his family. He's just decided to get into it and doing a fantastic job. Now, have a look at when we look at qualifying. The top 4 is how it sits in the championship now, with Geoff Connell slotting the number 4 into 3rd position there. Only a 10th off, though, when you think about that, the gap to our leader, and then 2 tenths behind Navarre Vantagiato.
Yeah, so Connell's jumped up into the 3rd position. Ayrton Philippi going through. So we saw Ayrton going over there and carrying curb in the backside of all the dust. You don't want to be there. That'll damage the inside of the tyre off the back end of the curb, off the backside of the curbs. This is this new sequence. So there's the old part of the track and rejoins pretty much on the straight. You've got this little, what is it, a right-left combination, which is 12 and 13 on the run to the straight. Now, it's a straight, but it's not a real long straight. So you're plucking gears, all of a sudden you're on the approach to 1, and you've got to commit to that line to where you need to be, because if you get it wrong, it translates up to 3, and you're offline, and an opportunity for maybe to get by. You can see how much curb that Philippi is using at that part of the racetrack, and that's on the run from 4 up to 5 and 6, the top end of the circuit. That was the other thing I noticed when we walked in here on Thursday, Matt, was the undulation. The elevation change is actually quite dramatic for a smaller circuit.
You go up quite a hill, don't you, as you go through 3, 4, 5 and 6 before you come downhill into that carousel section.
Yeah, so 7 and 8, the 8 at the hairpin, you're actually still braking downhill, so it's quite a tricky corner, and we saw throughout yesterday in practice across a lot of the classes, a lot of the drivers were really exploring the limits under brakes into there and getting it wrong. But if you're not getting it wrong, you don't know how far you've gone wrong.
Well, everybody's trying things, because there was talk on turn 7 there too that the track used to drop away a bit on the edge, so they knew when they were getting to the edge of the track, whereas now with the new resurface it's flat. So, you know, drivers who have got a lot of experience at the previous Wakefield park are saying this is a little bit different. Although you've got a very similar sequence of corners through that area, there's not concrete on the inside of turn 7 either, so then you're not coming over that. And a driver's brief, they also spoke about kicking up dirt. So coming in, kicking up a certain amount of dirt, they will be watching that, the driver observers that are sitting up there, standards observers. And if people start to go on the inside too much and flick that dirt up, which one impedes the driver behind you, also puts dirt on the track, we might start to see some penalties laid out here.
Yeah, and likewise 1, 2 and 3 with the runoff area off the exit. So there's a big space of concrete at each end of the racetrack. So if you run over the outer edge, you do have a little bit of respite, but you are well and truly out of the motor racing boundaries that are defined by the curves around one raceway.
Well, we'll see how we go. Payne still leading us. Rob Bowden now in the pits. I'll be looking for some minor adjustments. Not too much time left in this one, only a minute 20. Remembering that we're getting around here in just over 1 minute. They have cracked the 110 down to the 109s at the moment. In beautiful conditions this morning, I'm going to say, with the cool air is going to be helping these naturally aspirated 13B rotary engines. But that warmth on the track will be super important at the moment. The clouds are, there's only a few of them out there at the moment, and the sun is definitely coming right through. You can see the number 55 on our screen at the moment. That's Silvestro, a bit further down in qualifying at the moment, down to 16th. So we've got 20 cars again here this weekend for the Formula RX8, and a milestone we might reach this weekend is they have not had yellow flags and safety car conditions, and Justin has a whole heap of 100% shirts waiting down there to unleash at the end of this weekend if the drivers can maintain that. Wouldn't that be incredible for 6 rounds of racing?
That's impressive. That's seriously impressive to have no safety cars over the first 5 rounds of the championship, and on some very, very different motor racing circuits around Australia. That's one of the things with the Hi-Tec Super Series. We have visited some tracks that are very, very different to some of the other tracks that we've been. You know, we started off at Sydney Motorsport Park, Morgan Park up in Queensland, Queensland Raceway in Queensland. From the 2 of the shorter tracks in the journey, we've gone into South Australia to the Shell V-Power Motorsport Park at nearly 5 kilometres long on the circuit that we use there. Then back to Winton at just on 3 kilometres, and then back here to New South Wales to one raceway at 2.35. So, it's a pretty diverse range of racetracks.
Well, the checkered flag is out in this qualifying session now. Brock Payne is in the pits, and he is your number 1 at the moment by 5 thousandths of a second. That's 0.005 of a second over Rob Bowden. So they're going to start side by side. And when they come out, we'll start to talk about that positioning on the track, because really, second position on the left-hand side of the grid is actually the race line. So that may favour someone who's in second. So it might not be too bad for Rob Bowden, because with the limited overtaking opportunities here, potentially, that we might have underestimated that a little bit, but potentially track position is going to be everything for Rob Bowden. Geoff Connell in third, Ivan Varnagiato is in fourth, and Justin Lewis has fought back into fifth, Derwin in sixth, Philippi in seventh, Vickers, Canellis and Gallo will round out your 10. But Mel, you're down in the pits, and it's looking beautiful down there.
Fantastic. Rob Bowden, P2, we've just found out, only by a couple of hundredths of a second in qualifying.
Yeah, this track's a bit weird to get my head around, sort of tyre pressure wise. So we pretty much set our fast lap straight off the bat there and couldn't go any faster. So good effort though. We've got to be up there. If we're on the front row, we can get a good start and lead into one. That'd be great.
So I saw the car coming back to the track this morning on a trailer. Both yourself and Brock, the 2 championship contenders, had dramas yesterday.
Yeah, we had a bit of an oil leak, so we took it back to Canberra and did a bit of, put it on the hoist and did a bit of maintenance on it, and hopefully she's good to go now.
You've put in a few hours to make it here this weekend, haven't you?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we put a new engine in this weekend, and we fixed all the panel damage from Winton. So big effort from all the boys to get us here, and really glad we can sort of at least challenge for this championship. So yeah.
Great. Well, if qualifying's anything to go by, it looks like it's game on for race 1.
He talks about a little bit of effort. Not only that new engine went into a street car so they could rack up 1,700 Ks on it, so they could put it into this. So they've done a fair bit of driving, I'd say, in that engine already, and a fair bit of work. Look at one race. Absolutely fantastic views. Let's head down to Mel in the pits.
Brock Payne just snuck in there for P1.
Yeah, that was unreal. The track went off quite a bit after the first few laps, so I wanted to bank that lap early, but I think Rob was only 1,000ths behind me, so it's great to see the competition so close, and credit to all the guys who got the car. We had a few issues yesterday, and it's all sorted and running sweet, so yeah, can't wait for the racing.
Yeah, so what were the problems yesterday?
Well, we had an oil cooler leaking in the first practice, and then we actually had one of the 12 packs die, so I was still trying to work my head around the track, and it's a bit hard when there's a few underlying problems, but it seems to be running good now, so fingers crossed we make it through the weekend, and yeah, can't wait.
It doesn't get any closer than this, does it?
No, it doesn't. Great to see. Thank you.
Yeah.
pretty hard to chase down those coil packs too when you've got a leading and trailing spark plug on each of the rotors either. So you've basically got 4 coil packs, 4 spark plugs in there.
You like your rotaries, don't you?
I've had a little bit to do with them, the old rotaries, amongst some mates. We've got some fantastic racing coming your way this weekend, including the TA2 muscle cars. Let's catch up with someone who's fighting his way through the championship, Brad Gartner.
Well, it's been a brand new year for Brad Gartner and a brand new team, really, when it comes to the 2024 season of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. Brad, it's been a great start. You're currently sitting third in the championship, but there is a possibility you can chase down that man of steel, Josh Haynes.
Yeah, it's still there, which is pretty cool after the year we've had. Obviously, a lot of success when we're finishing, but unfortunately, a lot of races we didn't finish earlier on in the year that weren't exactly our fault, but that's motorsport, and we wouldn't be doing it if that stuff didn't happen. So, no, we're keen to get the Hi-Tec Oils 22 out there this weekend, and see what we can do.
What's it like to have a team like the Hi-Tec team behind you to really fight back from those unfortunate races you had?
Yeah, it's really cool having such a confident team owner in George, and just someone that gives you the confidence to be able to go do it again. When I was running our own deal with our own car and, Mum and Dad owned it, it was just like when you get a big shunt like that, it's like, I don't know if I can get to the next race. And then when you do get to that next race, it's sort of, you don't want to wreck it, so you're on the back foot a bit. But with George, it gives you the confidence to go out and win races, which is what we're here to do this weekend. And if that's what brings the championship, well, happy days.
It hasn't always been about bitumen racing for you. You like to do a bit of dirt racing. You got a new teammate, Robbie Farr. That must be pretty exciting.
Yeah. So I grew up watching Robbie, obviously, big dirt fan, and grew up, Dad raced speedway, Pa raced speedway, so I'd raced on dirt since I was 7 and made the switch on my 18th birthday. So 21 now, so it's been 3 pretty full-on years. But, as soon as Robbie called me up first time to help him out, it was a pretty cool moment. And obviously, to be able to watch him, win the Classic when I was only, 16, 17, and then, here now helping him out. It's really cool. So great team here at Hi-Tec Oils, and, like I said, can't wait to finish the year strong.
Well, the fight's not over for this championship. Brad Gartner still in the running. Stay tuned this weekend. Maybe he might grab that championship trophy. Yeah, some real highs and lows there for Brad Gartner this season. And look at this beautiful one, Raceway. And speaking about all things beautiful, let's head down to Mel.
Geoff, Connell, P3 in the championship, P3 in qualifying. What do you think of the new track?
Oh, yeah, it's amazing to drive. It's an awesome facility. It's 45 minutes from home for me, so it's cool to finally have a home round and have a track close to Canberra. So
can you give it to these guys this weekend?
Yeah, I hope so. We were quicker yesterday in practice, just struggled with the new tyre pressure then and just didn't get a perfect lap, so that's my fault. But third, so we're still in the fight. So, definitely have a crack.
And have you got a lot of friends and family being the local favourite, I imagine, then this weekend?
Yeah, got a fair bit here being close to home, so everyone's been loving the coverage on live TV, so it's cool for them to come out and see it in real life. So, yeah.
And it's a fantastic viewing place, isn't it? I mean, I was up on the hill yesterday. You can just see all of the action.
Yeah, to be able to see the whole track from nearly everywhere, that's awesome. The new viewing hills are great. So, we're pretty spoilt to have a track like that.
Well, have a great weekend. Thanks, Geoff.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, Geoff Connell coming off a couple of wins there from the last round. Well, it's all about TA2 this weekend and who's going to clinch that championship. And we caught up with the man who's currently leading the point score, Josh Haynes. Josh Haynes, we come down to the final round of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. You're here in your TA2 muscle car. A couple of seasons, you've been the runner-up, but this season, well, you've got a little bit of a lead in the points. How's it feeling?
Yeah, look, it's really exciting to be back at One Raceway. We've been here for nearly 4 years. I was looking yesterday since we last raced here. So, been a long time and a lot's happened in those years. But the Herzog Steel Mustang's looking really good, and we're excited to get on track soon.
How do you feel coming into the race this weekend? It's the opportunity to take your first championship in TA2 muscle car.
Yeah, look, it's really exciting and we're sitting in a good spot, but it's also still early days. So, we just got to go out and do our normal stuff, make sure the car's running well, and then, make sure we're in a good spot for all the races and be there for the last one on Sunday.
How is it? You're just over an hour away from home. This is technically your local track. You're going to have a lot of family here this weekend. How will that make you feel?
Yeah, look, it's really exciting. There's going to be lots of friends, family and sponsors down here this weekend. So, really looking forward to it. It's so good to be close to home and show everyone what we're all about and how hard we've worked all year. So, really looking forward to hopefully putting on a show for everyone and, hopefully come home with the bacon.
Well, here we go. Good luck this weekend and maybe we'll see you at the end with a big trophy.
Hopefully, that's the plan. Thank you.
Well, the man of steel himself, and can he calm those nerves this week? And the beautiful spectator viewing all around the track here as well. If you want to come down and enjoy the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series, you can really see everything from almost everywhere. Let's head down to the pits though with Mel.
TA2 ringmaster, I'm told. Craig Denyer, you must be pretty excited to see the cars out here.
Yeah, final round, Mel, of the championship, and it's been a long year and a great year and a very, very competitive year. And I think it's fantastic. We're going into the final round of the series with 4 drivers still within a chance of taking that magnificent $5,000 gold ring home with them in the magnificent trophy. So, yeah, great year. Happy to be here. Love the facility. Well done, Steve Shelley.
Yeah, it doesn't get much more exciting than that. It's a dream finish, isn't it, when it comes down to the wire on the last weekend?
It is. I mean, there's 240 points up for grabs this weekend. I mean, really, it'll be between, I think, Brad and obviously Josh Haynes. Graham Cheney not here this weekend because his son's racing on the Gold Coast in the Toyota 86s up there. But Mark Crutcher, an outside chance. He's 182 points behind. So we'll need everybody else to fall over and do a Stephen Bradbury. But I think the battle between Brad and Josh is going to be quite special this week.
It's happened before. They were all sussing out that trophy in that ring yesterday, weren't they? All thinking it would look good in their lounge room or on their finger.
Yeah, and we've got a big gala presentation night coming up on the Gold Coast, which you'll be invited to at the end of November, and to present the trophies. But it's been a fantastic year, so we really got to thank our sponsors, our supporters, our teams and their families for coming along and just being part of what we call is the TA2 family.
Yeah, good on you. Well done to you and everybody involved. It's been fantastic.
Fantastic. Well done. And well done to George Gambino and all the Hi-Tec crew as well. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Oh, he's just a little Don Loretto, isn't he? It's all about the family, the TA2 family. Great to have the TA2 muscle cars here at One Raceway. Jamie, this is going to be an exciting qualifying session because we've seen how fast they were yesterday, just sneaking into the 59s in practice 3 yesterday. But now, when we get to qualifying day, they've got a limited amount of tyre use, and they are using all that up.
Yeah, 6 brand new Hoosier tyres. All of the teams will be exactly the same. So, again, you don't want to go too long on this tyre set. Get a lap banked because we do have a shootout to come. So, first job, get into that shootout. You don't need to be putting too many laps on. Now, looking at various points of the racetrack yesterday, you went around in the safety car this morning, Matt, and had a good look at the lap. I spent a lot of time in practices 2 and 3 over at 11, 12 and 13 and looking at the different lines and the fast guys through there, which is actually really, really different. You get it right, you get rewarded. You get it wrong, you know you've got it wrong because you just hear those big Hoosiers, all 4 of them, just howling because you're just overloading the tyre if you get the lines wrong. So it's a small racetrack, but it's actually very, very technical, and I haven't spoken to a driver across any of the classes who have said they haven't enjoyed it.
And we know there's probably going to be 3 or 4 people who are definitely going to be in the top 8 shootout if they want to put it together, but like you say, you're not going to want to use too much tyres. Hayden Jackson goes a little bit wide there on turn number 1, so he might have just outbraked himself there. There is a little bit of dust coming up on the track as people come into those inside curbs, so we'll wait and have a look. And this is Sam Bates.
P1, he's gone straight to a 1:00.80, pretty much on his first flyer. So the only sub 1 minute lap we saw in P3 here yesterday afternoon was Brad Gartner with a 59.6. Josh Haynes was just on that minute barrier, but I can tell you Brad was using a whole heap of tyre to do what he did. So again, tyre management is going to be crucial because the majority of the lap, you are loading that left-hand side of the race car. But Bates has done a very, very good job early. Let's see what this lap is. He went purple to the second sector. Wow. Oh, just misses the 59. A 1:00.02. So he improved again. Zach Vishelko in second on his return to the series. Haynes third. Prosser. Gartner's only just gone out on track.
I'm going to think Haynes has probably just done his first running lap there. You're probably going to look at 2 laps to get the tyres up to temperature and get in that zone where you want them to be. But again, with the top 8 shootout coming up and only 6 tyres here this weekend, they are going to want to do this as quick as possible to try and ensure they get into that top 8 shootout. A 1:01 might do it here at the moment with the spread across all of the drivers. However, I reckon you'll find Josh Haynes, the man of steel, is going to be looking to put a 1 flat to a 59. But Brad Gartner, well, he's been super quick the last couple of rounds, coming off some bad luck in round number 1. He's just started to improve. He's so good in wet conditions, and we saw that at Winton when we had the changing conditions. Well, now we've got sun, it's a warm track, and can he maintain that blistering pace he's had?
Well, the forecast today is 19 degrees, so it's not going to be staggeringly hot. So Brad's on an outlap here. Haynes has gone purple to the first sector. Looking at Haynes here now. So he's just crossed the line on his first flyer to a 101.10. Oh, he got a heap of curve, and it exited with oversteer as we go back on board now with Robbie Farr. So Haynes was living dangerously on that sort of second flyer.
Yeah, the Falcon Diesel entry of Robbie Farr. Great to see him joining the series. Only coming in for the last couple of rounds, really, to get his eye in on the TA2 muscle car before he takes a bit of an assault on the championship next year. And really changing out of that dirt and sprint car modified racing into a circuit race, a big change for him. But sharing some information, obviously, with his teammate Brad Gartner, and having the young gun who's been super quick, giving him some advice. He's starting to adapt to the circuit racing very quickly.
So Haynes has gone purple to the second sector. Haynes has gone purple to the second sector, back down onto pit lane with Mel.
So Mark Crutcher's car is still sitting here in the pits. I just came down to check why. And apparently because it's a 20-minute qualifying session and the lap times are so small, he's just heading out now. These Hoosier tyres are only good for 3 laps or so, so they were saying he's going to wait for everybody else to go out and come in and head out there and put their laps in while the track's a bit more empty.
Yeah, while we're sitting down there, Josh Haynes has just gone into P1 in qualifying. Brad Gartner's just got him a 58.86. Incredible time.
That's come from. That was his second flyer. 59.6 yesterday, late yesterday in cooling conditions as Haynes is rolling out of the lap. A 58.86 from Gartner. That is stunning. That is stunning. Haynes momentarily topped it with a 59.8, and Gartner's just about gone a full second quicker. Wow.
I'm going to predict they're going to park that in the shed now for the top 8. You don't
reckon?
think after yesterday, we only saw one person just crack the 59.
He's on another one here.
Well, we spoke about down to his 3 laps. I'm not talking about 3 laps overall, but if you're going to push the limit of the tyre, you probably don't want to do more than 3 laps out there at full pace. Now, is he going to take this all the way to the end?
I think he's going to.
No, he's coming in.
No, I thought he was. He was actually still, it was probably at about 80-85% just looking at the split. So, look, he's definitely, that's going to be really, really hard to eclipse. Haynes is on pit lane. The majority of them are on pit lane. So, again, Haynes with a 59.85. He's done what he's needed to do, but boy, how hard a lap was it for him compared to Gartner's 58.86? So the Superbike record was set back here a few weeks ago in the 59s. I was predicting getting into the 59s. I just didn't know how low. So to rock the joint with a 58.8 on lap 2 of qualifying is an impressive lap from Brad Gartner. And he doesn't have some of his regular guys here this weekend because Brooksy's up on the Gold Coast, I think, running some of the 86s.
Doesn't have a bad guy behind the mic there and helping him with cars. Max Badeau, who's racing in Super 2 this year, and of course with the Hi-Tec Oils family as well, who sponsored him in Super 2. So he's definitely got, I think he's got enough brains trust down there to do what he needs to do. It's going to be about keeping his calm, and we said track position is going to be super important. So Gartner out in front of Haynes. I know Haynes has enough lead in this championship. He doesn't need to do anything silly. He'd be quite comfortable coming second to Brad Gartner and bring home the championship. However, a racer is always a racer.
I'm harking back to the end of the championship last year at Coulter, where Dylan Thomas was in the box seat. Not as comfortable as Josh. Then I think on the Sunday morning, Dylan stuck the championship winning car in the fence coming out of the last corner. Remember that in the wet conditions?
Yes.
And they did a lot of damage. Now, obviously, Josh doesn't want to do that here. He had a little blip on the radar at the bend where he had it off early on in the weekend and did a lot of damage to the front of that race car with the endurance race. And they actually parked his co-driver, who's not too bad, to take laps off the car just to maximise getting the car to the end of the weekend. So, yeah, look, nothing's impossible as we go back down onto pit lane with Mel.
At the moment, but there's a shootout coming out. What are your thoughts of the track?
Yeah, look, I had a really good, nice first lap there, and then on my second flyer we were doing really well, and unfortunately, a bit of a mistake. So car's quick, and yeah, it's obviously a tie game too. The Herzog Steel Mustang's quick, and the whole team at Waltech's done an awesome job, so bring on the shootout.
I heard those tyres were screaming their heads off through turn 1 yesterday.
Yeah, the track's still pretty under grip because it's obviously new surface. So yeah, it's tricky conditions out there, obviously knowing how to tune the car to the track. But yeah, look, all going well. Second for qualifying. Hopefully we can go one more in the shootout.
Yeah, Brad's done a blistering lap right now, but that's right, you've got one more chance to get back in front.
Yeah, that's right. I'm confident we can do it, so we'll see how we go.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm saying that car's parked now to the top 8 shootout.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure, absolutely. Sam Bates is impressive for me. He's just missed out on a 59 there, sitting in third now. He only turned laps at the bend as well, so he hasn't done a lot of time behind the race car.
That car carried a lot of damage out of the bend too. They've basically rebuilt it, whole new body work on it and everything. Zach Lachalpo in fourth, Hayden Jackson in fifth, and how about this? Robbie Farr, P6 in qualifying here at One Raceway. Now, I know I spoke to Robbie yesterday and this morning, and again, continuing to learn and just learn the intricacies of these race cars. He's sharing a little bit of data and obviously with input from Brad Gartner and Max Vidot as well. So, yeah, two not bad guys to have to reference off. And he didn't have that data engagement at Winton, so he was running a little bit blind. But, you know, he gave himself a pass mark, brought the car home straight in the trailer, and it was happy. But I know Robbie, and he wants to be competitive. Newcomer to the series this weekend, this is Mark Spencer out of Queensland. I've seen Mark racing up there in a beautiful little Mustang running an Australian Trans Am. So not new to motor racing, but this is a brand new, I think this is one of the latest cars that's just arrived in the country, a brand new Dodge Challenger, or as Craig Denyer called it at driver's briefing this morning, a Valiant. So I think, and all of the cars that get imported into Australia actually have their own individual names, and the boys, they thought this one was called Hudson. Not 100% sure, but out of the 100-odd cars that are in the country, they've actually all got different names. We saw Aaron Pross's car a little bit earlier on in the 91. He's currently P6, so he's just jumped ahead of Robbie Farr. Pross's car, that was the second car ever imported into Australia. That started out life as Russell Wright's chassis that won the inaugural TA2 Muscle Car Series.
Yeah, and then it went on with Jet Johnson as well to take out a championship. So that's going to see how he goes. He was super quick at Winton though, but yeah, earlier this weekend. Let's head down to Mel in the pits.
Sam Bates, currently in P3. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. This is my second qualifying in the TA2 ever, so I guess it's all right.
So you've got a brand new car, all the new beautiful white panels, and I see there's already a little bit of race tape on the front.
Yeah, that was in practice yesterday, so you never want that to happen, but not much you can do.
Well, you've got a top 8, looks like you've got a top 8 shootout coming up soon.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll see how that goes. Never done a shootout before, so a bit nervous.
You've also got your dad now back on the track to race again this weekend.
Yeah, I've got to look out. He's pretty dirty, so...
I look forward to watching that one.
Thank you.
How good's the banter between father and son already?
Dan can get away with it because Dad's on the racetrack. He won't hear it. Yeah, so Nick is actually behind the wheel of the TA2 Muscle Car Series development car. So he's jumped in the car that's been raced by Cam Sendell over the last couple of rounds. So Robbie Farr, we talked about him being in the top 6. He's just dropped out of the 8 back down to 10th. There's a couple of the other drivers, including Crutcher, who came out late out of pit lane, has settled into that 7th position. So at the moment, so it's a top 8 shootout. Gartner, Haynes, Bates, Lachalpo, Jackson, Prosser, Crutcher, and Nicholas Bates in the 42. Out of the 8 at the moment, Reedy, Farr, Michael Coulter, and Mark Spencer in that brand new Dodge Challenger number 44.
Yeah, I'm just listening to the throttle here, and I'm thinking Robbie Farr's in a cool-down lap at the moment because he is not through there. They are really just getting on and off the throttle. We saw earlier in practice yesterday there's not a whole lot of braking through there. It is very minimal braking at the moment, trying to keep the car at 2nd and 3rd gear. And when you go around the track here, the only place where they're actually using top gear is on the main straight, and it's only for a brief moment. So that's very interesting that they just have to get through 2nd and 3rd and really modulate that throttle to try and minimise the wheel spins. Robbie Farr might just be getting those tyres prepped for one last run as he comes around to this final sequence of corners, 11, 12 and 13, and we'll just wait and see if he's going to get a run onto the main straight. Here we go. Have a look on the left-hand side, potentially how much they go over the curve. Now, we're seeing drivers use a lot more of that inside curve, aren't we, to really straighten the car up and jet themselves down the main straight.
It's that exit run off 12 to 13 to try and straighten up that transition right to left onto the main straight. that's pretty critical. If you're sideways through there, it just kills exit speed. So a lot of the guys are trying to straighten the car up and have throttle on before, they really start getting onto the tyre. So I think, again, Robbie's just back into cruise mode. Oh, no, he might be on a lap here. Let's have a look at the split. He's got 18.6 to the split, so yeah, not his best. So he is out there cruising at the moment. So Crutcher's jumped up to P5 with a 1:00.53. So we've got 5 cars within half a second of getting into that 59 sort of second bracket. Sam Bates just outside. Zach Lascialpo doing a good job in his return with a 1:00.5070. So far, let's see what this lap works out to. The second split, 29.25, which is 5 seconds down on what the fast boys are doing. So I think Robbie's more for him now. It's actually getting some more laps in and try and work on those lines. I think what he's done pace-wise is pretty much it at the moment.
Interesting to see if they're going to try and work on their race pace as well, because let's go back to the tyre thing. I mean, we've still got 4 minutes left of qualifying and there's only a few cars out there. If they go out there and go hard in the first couple of races, they are really going to burn up that left rear-hand tyre. So
you're not going to be doing 58.8s in race trim. I tell you that now, having watched.
So, are you going to try and look at a couple of races you're really going to push hard in, or someone like Robbie might be a big advantage here, whereas he's going to be super consistent potentially over these 4 races, just being that second a lap slower. Whereas we could see some of the top guys, if they get a blistered tyre throughout the race, they're on the last few laps, they're really going to struggle. And really, where you're loaded up for almost half the lap on that rear left, that's really going to cause some traction issues there in the back end of the race for some of the faster guys.
Well, we talked about it briefly at Winton, and it sort of negated itself with the weather. So effectively over a 4-race weekend, you pick a race to not sacrifice, but a race where you're not going to be as strong, not on your best set of tyres. So that is going to be based on track position, those around you as well. So effectively, with the tyre allotment through the weekend, you're gonna compromise one of those races a little bit. So we'll definitely see that. If you're at the top end of the field, you've got the ability to minimise that. If you're in the middle of traffic and having to try and pass cars and overwork those tyres, then that's where you're in trouble. So still got Gartner, Haynes, Bates, Lascialpo, Crutcher, Hayden Jackson, Aaron Prosser, Nick Bates are your top 8. Outside, Reedy, Farr, Coulter and Spencer.
So Hayden Jackson's still looking for that lap, I think. He's looking for a little bit more pace in the Dodge Charger. I know he will be looking for more Hayden Jackson. He's had a really hard year as Robbie Farr slides a car out. That is a great sprint car slide there at the moment. He grabs it. This is what I mean. It could be an advantage if those tyres start to go off, because he is used to sliding vehicles around.
Watching some of the lines yesterday, the sprint car guys, notably Danny Reedy, had that section of racetrack very, very strong.
Robbie Farr just did improve. He went up 101.09 with a slide. Yep. So potentially he might have a top 8 here, and Prosser really needs to watch out. He's been super fast, and look at the amount of curb he's using there.
So for Robbie, again, it's more about track time. He's doing a longer run on these tyres, but he actually did find improvement. You're exactly right there, Matt. So I had a little chat to him last night, and I talk about that last run through 11, 12 and 13, which is actually a little bit of a sprint car line, what we call a diamond pattern. So you're very, very high in, late turn in and turn down, and you don't get the apex until where Hayden Jackson was just there. That was a good run from Hayden Jackson, actually. What does this lap do for Jackson?
Wow.
Oh, that was a good run, because he went 1:00.34 to P4, and Robbie had improved to 9th, back down onto pit lane with Mel.
Mark Crutcher, P5 so far, but it's all about the top 8 shootout, isn't it?
Yeah, we had to make sure we put a time down to get us to the top 8, and then who knows what's going to happen.
I saw you trying on the championship ring yesterday. What do you think?
Fits perfectly. It's a little bit too big for them skinny little fellas, their bony fingers, so you never know. Actually, I do know, but anyway, it's between them boys, and good luck to them.
Oh, it'd be fantastic to see you, the 3 of you, having a great battle today.
Yeah, if I'm anywhere up near them, I'll be a very happy man, because they're quick, and I'm not so quick. But anyway, it's great. Look, new track, everything's fantastic here. Great atmosphere down here, down pit lane as well.
And the Masters Championship as well, so you'll be taking home hopefully a whole gaggle of trophies.
Yeah, it's good to be over 50 sometimes, isn't it, eh?
Yeah, I know what that's like. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, guys. All the best.
Oh, no, look at Prosser out there. He's doing some gardening, and the 91 has a whole heap of grass and dirt in the front. And we are in the final few seconds of this qualifying session. That may really impede some people. In the meantime, we just missed out when we crossed down there. Robbie Farr went 7th fastest, a 1:00.88. And will he be in the 8 now? Because a yellow flag could be on that corner. Look at the amount of dirt that is going to drag out.
Man, that's actually a fairly significant off. I'm just trying to figure out where that is. Is that 3 maybe on the run up to 4? But yeah, Farr. So I thought Farr was sort of cruising and rolling around. As you said, Matt, and you were exactly spot on. He was building up for another run. Here's Prosser in the 91. Oh, yes, just hooked that left front unloaded and fired it off. Yeah, ploughed a little bit of it. Probably looked worse than what it was, but that's a fair way off the track here. Prosser is on the bubble in 8th.
Well, that's the end of that qualifying session. He's the only one out on track, so that will get him in the shootout. Doesn't look like they're going to have to replace a bar on that, which is the most important part, because we're not seeing it hang off, but you never know behind the scenes what's happened. Remembering we're coming out for our top 8 shootout just after 1 o'clock, so we don't have too long. They've got a couple of hours to turn those cars around. It's pretty busy down there in pit lane. Let's head back down to Mel.
Michael Coulter, if only it was a top 10 shootout and not a top 8 shootout.
Oh, I'd be cheering. But, yeah, disappointing, to finish P10 in that session. It was a bit upsetting. So, I don't know, just a bit too loose on these new tyres, compared to yesterday's practice tyres. So, don't know, we'll have to go back in the trailer and do a bit more homework, I think.
And you were telling me yesterday how what hard work it is here.
Oh, it's physically demanding, yeah. It's out of control. So, there's not really any break. All I get is about 2 breaths down the main straight at 200 Ks, and that's about it. So.
Well, don't forget to breathe during the race.
Yeah, otherwise I'll go a bit blue in the face.
Have a good one.
Yeah, cheers, thank you.
You know what, he's coming off a relaxing week in Bali, and he had to do some work this weekend. I tell you what, Michael could have a big smile on his face. Great to have him back here after, unfortunately, going through some family stuff over there with his father-in-law. But let's have a look at how the qualifying ended up. Brad Gartner with that blistering 58.86, almost a second behind Josh Haynes, which is unbelievable from the man of steel to be that far behind. In saying that, they didn't do many laps. Sam Bates, impressive in 3rd. Then it's Hayden Jackson with that ripper lap. Zach Lachaupo, good to have him back here. He has not raced since Bathurst last year. Mark Crutcher goes in 6th again, only doing a few laps. Robbie Farr built up, and look at him in 7th position. Will be in the shootout with Aaron Prosser, the final one in 8th position to make it with that little brake lock up in the end, which have probably hurt his tyre bank coming into this weekend.
Yeah, it definitely was a fairly big drag, so they'll have a look at that, and if it has hurt the tyre, that will certainly not help the Prosser machine through the rest of the weekend. So absolutely beautiful sunny conditions here at One Raceway in Goulburn. Look, fantastic to have National Series motor racing back at this racetrack, which we nearly lost a few years ago due to noise issues and ongoing things there. At that stage, the track was actually owned by the Benalla Auto Club, who run Winton and the Hi-Tec Super Series. So fantastic to be here, back down onto pit lane with Mel.
Robbie Farr, congratulations. You were in the top 8, you were out of the top 8, but you've made it through to your first shootout.
Yeah, it's quite a different qualifying than I'm used to with Speedway, so they get to have 2 cracks at it is great, because I didn't do a good job in the first session on the green tyres, and we probably had to put a few more laps on those tyres than we needed to, but we got it in the 8, and that was 100% the goal, to be in that top 8 shootout. 2 Hi-Tec cars in the top 8 shootout, so how cool is that? Congratulations to Brad on the pole, and mate, that's like a win for us. We're pretty stoked. Second meeting.
Yeah, brilliant effort. Now, what do you think of One Raceway?
It's fun as to drive around. Yeah, it's a bunch of fun. It's going to be interesting in race conditions with a bunch of cars out there. But just as a driver's circuit, I'm enjoying it. I love it.
Everybody's saying it's pretty hard work. Everyone's bright red in the face and looking a bit worn out after that.
Yeah, I might have to put the fan on at some stage. But that was cool. I really enjoyed that, and hopefully we can carry on the weekend.
Fantastic. Thanks.
Thanks, Mel.
Thank you, Mel. All right, as we look over the pit lane here at One Raceway, continuing on with the TA2 theme. Earlier on in the weekend, we caught up with Mark Crutcher.
Well, it wouldn't be a TA2 muscle car race if we didn't have this character here in pit lane, Mark Crutcher. Great to see a smiling face. You're leading the Serco Masterclass, but you're still in contention for a championship.
Yeah, if them boys play up at the front end, you never know what's going to happen. But let's be serious, they're miles in front of me. I wish them both the best for this weekend, and I hope it comes down to the wire. But I'm winning the old fellas. That's fantastic.
What's it like being out on track with some of those young fellas who are so fast? I know you've not got Jordan Cox in the background here helping you. What does that do for you in confidence?
Oh, yeah, Geordie's great. You know, he's one of the best drivers in Australia. I've got Red on the tools. Red's fantastic at the setup with Jordan. Racing with these young fellas just makes you quicker. It makes you feel younger, I've got to be honest. I've only been racing for 8 years, but they're great young kids. If you have a look all the way down the paddock, you couldn't get a better bunch of guys that help each other out. So it's a family environment, and it's brilliant. And that's why I've got the smile on my dial.
Bit of an equaliser this weekend. One Raceway. It's been a few years since anyone's been here, and we're the first national category to come back. But there's a brand new corner, and that's going to take a little bit of negotiation skills.
Yeah, the bell end down there, it looks pretty exciting. It's got a bit of a NASCAR feel about it. We'll have to sneak up on that, and there might be a couple of overtaking opportunities there. We'll see. No one being on the track yet, it's pretty exciting to see what happens.
Well, if nothing happens on the track, plenty will happen off the track with this guy. So, yeah, keep that smile going, Mark, and good luck this weekend.
Happy days, guys. Thank you.
All right, back to the action very, very shortly as we continue on with qualifying this morning. And next out on track will be the Australian Drivers' Championship. And we'll continue on talking down on pit lane. Mel, what do you got?
Hey, Aaron Prosser, you were in the 8th position, remembering that we got a top 8 shootout. But I reckon your driver coach, Chris Pither, might have something to answer there for, because you looked like you might have just been on the edge of falling out of the 8. But then what did he tell you over the radio?
Yeah, we came back to the pits and then we were right on 8, so with 2 laps to go, he said we've got to go again, and with 1 lap to go, he said you've got to push hard and make sure we stay in the 8, and we pushed it pretty hard and sent it clean off the track, so I guess we know that you can't push it that hard up there anymore.
I think the official term was, if you're going to go again, you've got to send it.
Yeah, it was. It was just, you got 1 lap to send it, we sent it clean off, so... I'm glad we made the top 8, and let's hope we can move forward in the shootout.
So who actually gets to sponge the car down now? Is that Chris Pither because he told you to send it, or are you going to be on the rags and the sponges?
No, I reckon it's his call, so yeah, he could have a go at cleaning it up.
Back down to you, Mel. Mel, who have you got down there?
Pit lane here with the fairly newly elected Mayor of Goulburn, Nina Dillon, who is looking very excited about the opportunity to go out for a hot lap in a minute.
I'm not so sure. I'm very risk averse, but I'll do it. It's something exciting, isn't it? And it's looking great. Look, we've got a beautiful day. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, well, we're certainly the competitors, all of us here at the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series, are really, really thrilled to be back at this amazing facility. One Raceway, they've done a brilliant job, and I imagine the people of Goulburn are equally as excited.
Absolutely. I think everyone is excited that it's reopened. They've done a marvellous job getting it up to where it is now and keeping everybody happy. But yes, the whole Goulburn Mulwari area is really excited to have everyone back out here.
And so what does it mean just for the community to be having people here for the races all the time?
Yes, well, I think for one thing it's good for our accommodation and our restaurants, and for the people who are the rev heads that like to come out and watch the races and the bikes, listen to that go past. But yeah, we're really excited and really proud to have you back.
Fantastic, and it's great to see already there's a bunch of spectators up on the hill checking out the race.
Yes, absolutely. I came out the other day and watched the bikes, and I'm just as excited today to watch the cars.
So how about I take you out there and show you the track?
Hey, I'll come and have a look.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mal. All right, qualifying continues with the Hybrexes and the Australian Drivers' Championship. This is our last qualifying session for the morning, joining commentary by Dan McCarthy, who knows a lot more about these cars than I do. And welcome back, Dan, after helping us out at the bend. And these Hypers, I fell in love with them at the bend. Seriously quick, they sound like a real race car with the Suzukis in behind them. Aero-wise, they're so efficient. Oh, that didn't quite go right for the 26 of, that was Damon Sterling, who's one of the front runners. But look, I think they're loving this place, and they are super, super quick. I think I saw a 55.6 in practice yesterday afternoon.
Yes, indeed you did. 55.6, which is the new lap record around this place. As we say, this is only the second race meeting at the reopened One Raceway, and that is the official lap lap record, but I'm sure that will be broken in this qualifying session this morning. Perfect conditions. Track's a little bit cooler than it was late yesterday, so I expect that lap record to tumble. And we look on the screen at Nico French, heading down towards the newly changed complexion of turns 1, 2 and 3. But isn't it awesome to have this place back up and running? You know, you said about the fact that these guys love the Ben Motorsport Park, the Shell V-Power Motorsport Park in South Australia, and they certainly did. But they said this track probably suits these cars even better still.
Yeah, well, it's almost a big go-kart track. It's still probably too big for a sprint go-kart track, but I tell you what, you'd have a little bit of fun road racing with the karts that we saw at Winton. But these cars very, very quick around here. I think on the old layout at Wakefield Park, I read up that the old outright lap record was actually a 53.06 set by Brad Shields in a Mitsubishi Evo. And I'm assuming that was a time attack car. Yes. It'd have to be. I know Brad's very, very quick, but a 53.0. So with the addition and the changes to both ends of the racetrack, it's added about 150 metres to the track length. So out of this weekend, certainly we are going to have a whole raft of brand new track records across all of these classes. And going back a month with the Australian Superbike round, the lap record for the outright Superbikes was a 59.05 set by Mike Jones on a Yamaha YZF RM1. So that's pretty quick around here on two wheels. You reckon you're busy in a racing car? I reckon you're busier on a Superbike.
Yeah, it's good that we're continuing the bike theme with this particular category. As you say, a Suzuki Hayabusa engine, a motorbike engine powering these machines, and they sound absolutely fantastic. We're not talking too much about lap times at this particular point in time. With these particular machines, the lap times just continue to tumble. As the session goes on, the tyres get warmer and warmer, and the lap times will come, the fastest times anyway, all being well, will come at the very end of the session. At the moment, the number 26 of Damon Sterling is at the top with a 55.2, so already that benchmark's been lowered.
He's just lowered it. I just watched that as it happened because I think Crossland in the 6 was in the 56.2s, but yeah, Sterling, and we saw a little moment for Sterling a couple of minutes ago through the centre of the racetrack. We just saw the car twitching in there and out of shape, but he's just rocked in a 55.2280 for the fastest outright lap time of anything on the property here this weekend. And they are certainly very, very quick little race cars. We talk about the TA2 family. This group of drivers across the Hypers a very, very tight-knit group as well.
Yes, certainly are. They're always helping each other out. They're all really good mates, and it's really good to see that camaraderie in the paddock. I just saw, you may have seen the number 77, the car that we are looking at on the screen of Luke Claver. Kicked up a little bit of dust around this section of the course. Sort of sector 1 is pretty well tarmacked on the outside, and of course in the bowl section, the final sequence of corners, that's tarmac. But the middle sector's a lot more old school. You can see a lot of cars ran off yesterday. You can see all the wheel marks through the dirt and the grass, all the way off the track at all different parts of the circuit. But here we are on the new section, the bowl, as I refer to it. Other people have some other names for this particular corner.
Well, I'm in the carousel. Yeah, there is another one we're not going to mention. But yeah, I've got the carousel, but yeah, the bowl, because it is actually quite cambered and banked. And if you get up over the top of that lift where the bank is, it just turns into understeer, and you'll end up loading the tyres up. So I'm waiting for another lap to come from Crossland in the 6, because Hayden was actually the benchmark yesterday, getting down into the 55s. Or did Sterling go 55s in that second session yesterday?
It was actually Crook right at the end. Snuck one in, okay. Crook snuck one in right at the end.
Crossland was very, very quick in the third practice session. I watched that yesterday afternoon. Just watching that line through 11, 12 and 13, a very, very different line with a lot more downforce through that sequence of corners onto the front straight than what we saw, say, from the TA2, where they're, with not anywhere near as much downforce, having to try some different things to get through there and not load the tyre up. So it's still Sterling with a 55.2280, fastest in qualifying, final qualifying session here this morning at One Raceway.
Yeah, this has been saying to me there's only really one major braking point around here. There are 3 towards turn 2, just a dab of the brakes and down a couple of gears into third. The main breaking point for these cars is what used to be known as the fish hook. Yes, thank you. Yes, fish hook. Turn number 8. That's the major breaking point. Even turns 11 and 12. Oh, there's a car off. But yeah, turns 11 and 12 as well. It's just a dab of the brakes, really. We're just waiting for the dust to settle to see who on earth that is. Oh, it's the number 27 machine of Bastian Treptow. He'll make his way back onto the circuit.
That shows you how little wind there is around the facility at the moment, because that dust was just hanging. It wasn't going anywhere, so that'll take a little bit to get those tyres cleaned up after that wee off. So as yet, no one has eclipsed Sterling's 55.2. He's just gone purple. Purple sectors 1 and 2. So Sterling's on another lap here. The best ultimate lap time based on the best sectors is a 55.07 potentially. Sterling may be getting close to that on this next lap.
Yeah, Crossland actually has the benchmark in both sectors 2 and 3. So clearly losing time, quite a lot of time in that first sector, because he is 7 tenths off the pace at the moment. So there's time to be found for the youngster in car number 6. You're looking on the circuit at Hamish Leighton there, car number 19. He was a real front runner at Calder Park a few weeks ago, but he said from the moment he rolled this car off the truck yesterday, there's been niggling issues, gremlins that plagued him throughout practice. So unfortunately, it's not been a great weekend so far. With that lap though, he does move up to position number 6, but really he is, I wouldn't say any sessions behind, but just with the niggling issues, he hasn't really had a clean session so far this weekend. So he'll be one to look out for late in this session as he comes to grips more and more with this circuit. Look for this car to move up the leaderboard.
Right, so Sterling wasn't able to take advantage of those 2 purple sectors. He's still faster to the 55.22. Crook has just jumped into second, and he's gone personal best in the first sector again. He's into the 55s now with a 55.6720. So Crook certainly one of the guys behind these cars and the design and the series. He's up there at the pointy end, but he's still got 4 tenths to find to eclipse Sterling's 55.2280.
Looking at Crossland, who has not again improved in that first sector, so he's just losing time in that first sector. As we look back at the number 27, the car that we saw have the spin a few moments ago, that was Treptow. He's doing a nice job now. Looks like the tyres have cleaned up and he's back on the pace, sitting in position number 7 at the moment.
Crook's just gone P2, consolidates P2, but he's within a tenth and a half. Well, he was. Okay, let's talk about Crook first. He went 55.36 to Sterling's 55.22. Sterling's just gone purple, second, third sectors, and has just absolutely destroyed the 55s with a 54.29.
That's what you call moving the goalpost.
We're now actually starting to get into that territory. We're within a second and a half of the outright old lap record here at what was Wakefield Park at a 53.06. I don't think we're going to get there, but a 54.29, that is impressive.
Imagine what they'd have done on the old layout. That is remarkable. As across the line comes Coulter, he improves, but only by about a tenth, so the margin is still 9 tenths of a second. It's pretty close in third. Nico French has moved up to third. Just as I say it, Stasi moves up to position number 3 now. So Stasi, French and Crossland all within 2 tenths of a second. So Crossland has been shuffled back a little bit. He did go PB in that first sector. He said he needed to improve the first sector, but unfortunately this time he lost time in sectors 2 and 3. So Crossland's got more pace in that car, but he's yet to string a lap together in all 3 sectors.
All 3 sectors at the moment with the gap is Sterling with that 54.29. 54.29. That is flying around one Raceway. Really, really impressive. We got excited at Winton at the previous round with a new supercar outright lap record, and that was impressive. But Damon Sterling's done such a good job with that lap. He's sort of rolled out a little bit now on this outlap. I don't think they'll improve on a 54.29 as Stasi 55.67 for P3. PB the first sector and the third sector. a little bit down in the middle. Sterling's second sector in the middle is the one that wakes everyone up because it went 22-1-1. Nobody's within 3/10 of that to the second sector split.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you make there. I was saying to Starsy yesterday, you can see this car from a mile away. It really stands out, doesn't it? I said it's easy. It makes our life easy in the commentary box, that's for sure.
Crossland's just gone P3 with a 55.27. And the difference between Crook and Crossland is 0.004. 4/10,000ths of a second.
Can't measure that really in terms of distance, can you? That's millimetres across the line as Crook improves in the final sector and pushes the margin out to a huge 38 thousandths of a second now over Crossland. It's so close. They're just finding the absolute limits at the moment. The guys are telling me this top section of the course, it's not even a full lift. They're just lifting to about 50% throttle up the top around turns 5 and 6. I can't even comprehend that.
I would call that a settle lift, just to get the car settled and not lining up the tyres probably at that, but that would just be the briefest of throttle lift.
But in a TA2 car, that's a full-on braking zone.
Yeah. So that shows you how much downforce. Oh, Sterling's just purpled the first sector again. He's just purpled the first sector. Didn't quite get the second sector right by the looks of it, but he's gone 14.63 to the first sector split.
Crook's just gone back to position number 2, 100.
55.22. Crossland 55.23. Starsy 55.47.
Well, there's a spinner in the background there down at turns 2. I could hear some tyres protesting, and there was a big fast spin down there in the opening sequence of corners. It was a black and red machine, so I think that potentially Crook, yeah, that's exactly where my mind went there, so we'll keep an eye on it, and that is exactly where Treptow is headed right now in the number 27. Looks like that car has moved anyway, which is good news, and we're able to remain green down that section of the course, but this is really everyone's final laps now. I'm looking for PB sectors, and Crook has set a green middle sector, so I don't think it was Crook that spun off down at turn 2. He actually improves and goes 2/10ths faster than Crossland, so a really nice final lap from Dean Crook. In the end though, still 3/4 of a second behind Damon Sterling, and Crossland comes across the line. Starsy, French, Claver, all of them though, no improvement, so I think that could be it in this session.
Just to show you how durable that tyre run was, and they'll all be, I would assume, on a brand new Hankook slick. Crook's last lap was his fastest lap was set on lap 14. That's a 14 lap run on that tyre.
You may remember I mentioned at the bend they only have 3 sets for the whole season.
Yeah.
So because it's a final
so
round,
they won't necessarily. They won't be a new tyre.
No, I think only one car I saw yesterday with new tyres.
Damon Sterling dominating qualifying for the Australian Drivers' Championship from Dean Crook, who set his fastest lap on the last lap. Hayden Crossland, Lucas Starsy, Nico French, Luke Claver, Hamish Leighton, Bastian Treptelli had a couple of offs during that session. Hardy Kuhn and Bradley Smith completing the top 10 for the HyperXs here at One Raceway in Goulburn. 54.295. And I'm pretty sure that that's probably going to stay there as the fastest lap. Well, could they go faster in race mode? We'll have to wait and see.
I wouldn't rule it out, that's for sure, in these particular machines. They'll have a few more laps to try and improve on those times. Look at the outlook, though. Look at the hills in the background. This is a brilliant facility. So glad it's opened up, and it's in a beautiful part of the world.
So we're about 2.5 hours southwest of Sydney. Just a little short hour run from Canberra, so that would be northwest out of Canberra. Somewhere in that direction. I'm directionally challenged, so don't ask me about direction. But yeah, look, absolutely beautiful part of the world. 19 degrees was the forecast air temperature here today, so certainly not unmanageable as our twin sister Hyundai i30N safety cars come out onto the racetrack, and I think our lovely Mayor might be out in one of those cars, and I think Mel might be driving. Mel's done a few laps around the old Wakefield Park. Yes. Back in commentary with Mr. Matty Cav. How fast was that? A 54.29.
Those hyper races are absolutely incredible, aren't they? What an Australian Drivers' Championship to be involved in too, and using those high booster engines and things like that. They are an incredibly quick little machinery. Remember at the bend they were struggling to get top gear with the downforce with the long straight. Here they are in their absolute element where they don't want to use the brakes. They just want to get around there.
Super quick, super impressive.
Isn't it a fantastic facility we've got here? We check out our Hyundai safety cars getting around. Our Mayor Dillon going for a little bit of a ride out there with Mel Price, who's done quite a few laps across many race cars in her lifetime. So maybe the fingertips might be in the side of the seat, I reckon. Maybe the nails are getting really put in there.
Well, last weekend Mel was behind the wheel of a Radical at Sydney Motorsport Park, so she's still keeping her eye on.
Yeah, we had a helmet up there on the bench too a little bit earlier, so she might be able to put that on a little bit later. Incredible facility, like we say, a few changes come through some of the corners where we don't see the inside curve as much, but a total resurface, and that's what Josh Haynes spoke about earlier, wasn't he? That with the resurface, it means it's just a little bit slippery in certain areas where he's not used to from 4 years ago when he raced here in Pulsars and other cars like that.
Yeah, very different from a front-wheel drive Nissan Pulsar to a 550 horsepower V8 powered Trans Am car. But look, for people that have been here in the past, and you can see from that shot the expansiveness of the concrete that's laid out here and the new banking and spectator areas is just absolutely stunning. As we build up to our first race of the weekend for the Legend Cars Australia, earlier on in the weekend we caught up with championship leader Ryan Pring.
Massive weekend here for the Legend Cars Australia, because not only is it the final round of the 2024 Championship, it's also the Australian title this weekend. Now, this young guy next to me, Ryan Pring, he's no stranger, already has an Australian title under his belt, but at the moment he's leading the championship by a slim margin. This could be an exciting weekend for you.
Oh, it's going to be a tough one. Everyone else has gotten faster, and we've got so many new people here. It's going to be challenging this weekend.
Now, you get a drop round over the 6 rounds of the championship too, so that sort of changes the points around. There could be some movement there depending on how you go this weekend. What does that do to your strategy?
My strategy, just try and win it, really. That's my strategy, just try and stay consistent and win it.
So the Australian title, obviously you've already got one of those under your belt. How important is it for you to try and win that again, or is it more focused on the championship?
Well, I'm more focused on the championship this year, but if I need to, I'll just try and win it anyways. I want to win both.
There's no way. We always want to win as much as we win when it comes to racing here. The Legend Cars Australia are going to be on track this weekend. They're always exciting. Over 20 cars in the field. Stay tuned for what's going to happen. Yeah, can't wait for their first race about to hit the track. Not too far away. In the meantime, though, we've got someone who's just jumped out of our Hyundai safety car. I'm sure they got a big smile on their face.
Mayor Dillon, you've just seen the track from the other side of the fence. How was that?
Absolutely great. It's a really wonderful scene, and getting around that track, it was really wonderful. It's completely different to watching from up the hill.
It is a very different view. We have a very excited councillor here who enjoyed the ride too.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great.
He loved it. I think he's going to be putting that one up on the family albums, I think. So, yes. No, we're very, very excited and very, very pleased with what's happening out here.
Well, it looks like the politicians up here are great motorsport fans at One Raceway, so good future ahead, I'm sure.
I'm sure there will be. We're great to be involved. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, great to have them coming out. Of course, our first race for the Legend Cars Australia. And this is where it gets super exciting. Not only championships at stake, but also an Aussie title. So you could see the likes of Billy Finnegan, who was missed out on most of the season, the Irishman. He's been super quick. Remember what happened at the last round? His boot fell off, got jammed between the back bar, and he actually got black flag to come in and pull that out. So we'll wait and see how he goes this weekend. Ryan Pring, though, is our fastest car out there after qualifying, and he's leading the championship at the moment. Followed by Dylan Thomas, who got excited and bought a car to go into series this year. We've seen him a couple of times. He's enjoying his time, double duties this weekend with the Formula V as well. So we'll wait and see how that all goes. Of course, we've got Aiden Williams, Rob Hogan, who's in the championship fight, Billy Finnegan's at 5th, Timmy Reed at 6th, Benny Goodrich and Brendan Hourigan on the 4th row of the grid in a championship fight as well, Duckworth and Settle on the 5th row. So mathematically, there are 11 cars in this championship, which makes it super exciting when it comes to Legend Cars Australia. There's 100 points on offer for each race. So, look, we're going to be working the spreadsheets pretty hard this weekend to see how we go when it comes to points for this one. Very important that you get off the line very quickly. These cars are still going to go 4 and 5 wide, I'm going to predict. We're not going to see that with the TA2 muscle car, but these pocket rockets get underway with race number 1, and Ryan Pring coming down the inside line, and looks like he's got the jump on Dylan Thomas, but look at the guys behind him. Billy Finnegan already giving someone a bit of a push.
They didn't start it. It looked weird on the run up there because Williams was laid so far back. So they've either decided to give them a second warm-up lap, Matt, or they've actually aborted that start. I'm not 100% sure, but it definitely didn't look right there because Williams was a clear 4 car lengths back off the second row from the front row starters. So 11 cars still in championship contention at the end of a 6-round championship series. That's amazing. I know Tony Ward's been very, very busy this week. They actually had a container arrive with 6 brand new race cars that they've been waiting for a little while. I think one of those is on debut this weekend. Car 24, Luke Walden. So the number 24 plain white car, they put the numbers on it yesterday, got it built. Tony just flat ran out of time to get some of the other ones built, but brand new race cars, a brand new supply of parts, and the poor old Australia Legends team van, the parts van, was probably on the bump stops on the way to one Raceway.
There's a lot of parts in that car. Look, hard to get these cars in from America at the moment because of the demand worldwide, which leads us into Lockie Ward, who, when we've seen him out here in borrowed cars, his own car, he's dominated. He is going to the World Championships over in America. So that's going to be an incredible moment for him to be over there. There's going to be over 130 cars competing at the Worlds as well. And look, Lockie Ward's going to try and represent Australia. I'm sure that's going to be elbows out, bumper to bumper. It's going to be super exciting. In the meantime, though, let's head back to Aussie soil because hopefully we're going to see the safety car go off at the moment. I think it's gone. And when we get a look at that, look at them spread out. It is a 2.35 kilometres, means these guys do take up a fair bit of that track. And looks like the safety car's gone. I think we are from the onboards here, of course, with Benny Goodrich there. Let's have a look at this start. I'll try and get this one right. Let's have a look. Ryan Pring off. Didn't expect Dylan Thomas to this race done with his experience. And we have a look down. We're already out in the dirt there. Who is that? The 83, it looks like, coming down. Or 93, is it Haynes? That'll send him back a little bit here, but there's plenty going. Look at how much movement they get as they go around the corners. There's a fair bit of bitumen to ride off on, and Ryan Pring looking nice and comfortable in turn number 1. Billy Finnegan, though, on the outside. Can he hold on?
That's Ascasendo. I think, there's some contact there as well, and one around. That's Duckworth in the 160. I think we were sort of on board there with contact there or thereabouts. What I was about to say before that, Matt, this is probably the essential racetrack that is perfect for legend cars. Perfect size, you're always in a corner, and I thought some of the bigger tracks wouldn't be so suitable for them, but even at the Bend, they were super entertaining, but a smaller circuit like this, or Queensland Raceway or Morgan Park, absolutely ideal for these cars.
Billy Finnegan giving Dylan Thomas the old Morse code as they come out into turn 12 there, giving the bank the dot. We'll wait and see how they go down the main straight. Billy really trying to push a charge of what it would be for him to get the Australian title. He hasn't had one before. Ryan Pring going to leading. Well, he's already had the number 1 on the side of the car earlier in his racing career. Wow, look at the amount of wheel work on the inside. There you go, Dylan Thomas almost gone back into 4th position as Rob Hogan puts his nose in to be part of this fight as well. It's a great little stoush for 2nd position at the moment. Ryan Pring goes through the 3rd. Wow.
Look at all the material. It dragged onto the track like Thomas and Finnegan. They would have got to that and got it turned and just, we're going forward here. We ain't getting it turned. There was a lot of material, and that was one of the things they spoke about at drivers' briefing, about not doing that, trying to minimise that. And if you keep doing it, there will be penalties assessed.
Well, that wasn't going over a ripple strip kicking up a bit of dirt. That was Duckworth going right off and doing a big spin. So very hard to avoid that, but it's going to affect this race now as we go through, isn't it? Because I'm sure after a couple more laps we'll see a racing line through there, but if they're too wide, I'm not sure where you want to be. Dylan Thomas going to have to fight back now as he's back into 4th position behind him. The current Australian champion, Brendan Hourigan, with the number 1 on the side in 5th. And Rebecca Goodrich, Sandra Williams, Reed and Tate will round out your top 10.
So Pring out in front, fastest lap of the race, 108.3760. On board here, I think this is the 97 of Goodrich. I think it's that sort of bronzy bronzy red and white with Goodrich. So Asker Sendel and Ben Goodrich carrying our 2 onboards for the Legends this weekend. So it wasn't so much that Pring went off there. He actually went through all of that material that you explained with Duckworth. I just sort of caught the end of it and thought he'd actually clean gone through the inside of the curve. So no, that was where Duckworth had gone around and rejoined. So absolutely on the money there, Matt.
Well, Ryan Pring just opens himself up a little bit at the moment. Rob Hogan now in a little bit of breathing space, but these cars, they change so quickly, especially if they get a little bit of a draft down the time straight. And unfortunately, we see the 73 in the middle there. He's spun off. Just having a look. 72, is it Bradley?
Yeah, Darren Bradley.
Yeah, that's unfortunate to have him coming there. Was 14th fastest in qualifying out of the ACT. The Scoops Garage entry. Dylan Thomas now with the run down. He's got a little bit of a draft coming to turn 1, but they don't like to be on the curb here. They like to be a little bit wider, probably about mid-line, and stay on the throttle as much as possible. Remembering, these are a little street tyre, like a radial tyre, which they run, which you can buy for any of your street cars. They work in the wet and the dry, which means they're not gripped up like a slick tyre or a racing tyre.
Little Nankang tyres, and you can hear them. They are working overtime. Man, there is a lot of material built up there. I think, is that the run off of 6? I think it would be 5 and 6 up the top part of the circuit. As you drop downhill here now to what they call the fish hook here locally, turn number 8 through to 9, and you've got the little transition to 10.
Wait and see. It's really about these final 3 corners here, these consecutive 11, 12 and 13, how you approach that and the different lines as well. Goodrich has a bit of a moment under brakes. That car really moving around. That's not going to line him up for the exit speed. That's the problem here. You need to get good exit speed, but it looks like it might not have hurt him too much, actually. He's right on the back of Dylan Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas looked to be running right through the centre line of that 11, 12 and 13, whereas Goodrich and behind him actually narrowed up off and was a similar line that we've seen some of the Trans Ams earlier on in the weekend, where he's up against the curb. There's actually a grate right there, which is pretty much the exit point where you need to be parked up on it. Don't get up on the curb, though. More so with these little cars. Some of the curves you can get away with here. Some of them are actually a lot bigger than what they look. As Dylan Thomas continues to work over Finnegan on board with Goodrich. Look at the wheel work.
What a difference it would be for Dylan Thomas jumping out of a Formula V into one of these things that slide around, and he gets a nice move done on Billy Finnegan.
That was nearly a...
Look at Pring in front. He's been overtaken by Rob Hogan, who's now made it into number 1 position. So our lead has changed what's been happening. Hogan with a 107.36 fastest lap of the race, and he's almost at qualifying speed. That is incredible.
The Pring made a mistake, or has Hogan just chased him down?
Safety car is out by the looks of it. We have a yellow flag out on track as well. So I wonder whether that's going to come down to the 72 car, which we've seen there for a couple of laps. Oh no! What happened there? That was a big run. Was that Asker, or are we seeing...
I think that was Goodrich. I think that was Goodrich, and that was on the slowdown for the yellows. I thought, geez, these boys are carrying speed here. If they've pulled the safety car...
Maybe you didn't see the yellows there.
Well, that's on board with Sendel because he's just clipped the left rear of the car in front, which would have been potentially Hurrigan or maybe Finnegan. But yeah, look, we
definitely saw the number 1 there, the silver. Obviously coming off a championship win, also running the 51 on the side as well. So, nice guy down there as well. If you see him in the pits, so got a bit of work. The family's got a couple of cars this weekend. Doing some work on the stock cars as well. But that's unfortunately Bradley there in the 72. He's just waiting for a mate.
Yeah, he's been parked up there for a couple of laps. So obviously it was deemed to be in a position where the Hyundai i30N safety car had to come out.
He also might have been hoping to see whether he could start that car and drive it out under his own steam, so potentially there is an issue with the vehicle. I'm just trying to see the vehicle in front. Are we trying to clean up that corner potentially?
There is that potentially as well, maybe. And the 34.
Yeah, the 34.
James Brett, he's stopped on track.
Yeah, that's interesting. The Tailor-Made Kitchens entry.
Well, Bradley's getting towed off, so he's definitely gone for an excursion, because look at the front of the car. It is just absolutely caked in dust. So still 5 laps remaining here for our first race of the weekend here at One Raceway for the 6th and final round of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series.
I tell you what, we know these legend cars do dirt racing as well as bitumen racing, but we're not trying to combine the two, are we?
Not ideally, no.
Not like a rallycross. We're not trying to make that happen.
Dirt's for racing, asphalt's for getting there. And the asphalt boys are Asphalt's for racing, dirt's for growing potatoes. And
in Legends, you can do both.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, Hyundai safety car at the moment as we get them all ready to go again. It looks like we'll have one more lap under safety car. Hopefully we can retrieve that number 72 of Bradley.
Potentially the 34.
Yeah, the 34.
So I think Bradley's actually gone away on his own. It must have been bogged down there because one of them's actually got away. It might be the 34, but you're right, Matt. I think maybe just one more safety car lap.
Did you see Lockie Ward there with his arm out?
Was that Lockie?
He's driving. You can tell by the beautiful hair he's got. He's a male model, Lockie Ward. You can tell by he's training about 5 of the young guns out there at the moment. He's telling them to weave and keep that tyre temperature up. So he's doing a great job with some driver training amongst some of these young ones, including Asker Sendel, who we do have an onboard camera for. Now, he is 15 years of age, doesn't have a road licence yet. It's the best thing about him getting into racing, Asker Sendel, was when we spoke to him yesterday, was his dad said about 3 years ago, not a motor racing family, obviously loved watching it. Asker did a little bit of a deal with someone and agreed to buy a go-kart without telling his dad. And his dad said, well, we can't back out on this deal now, and had to fork over the credit card and buy him a go-kart. Did 2 seasons of go-karting, and now they're in a legend car as well. So, wow. Moral of the story is sometimes when you buy something without your parents' notice, you get away with it.
Not endorsed by any way, shape or form by Jamie McCarthy. That was Matt Cabanagh that said that.
Oh, what a way to get into racing, isn't it? But look, they're loving it down there, and great to have his dad here this weekend. Big smile on his face. He has been reasonably quick to Asker Sendel over the last few races. 10th fastest in qualifying. We'll have to wait and see what he can do throughout this race. In the meantime, let's head down to pits and find out what's going on.
Lockie Ward, how are your young guys going out there? They're keeping the tyres warm for the restart?
They are. I just told them then to warm them up a bit because we're running a bit lower than a few of the other boys, I think. But Ryan had a cracker start. He got out in the lead. And yeah, Asker, Tim and Ben are all up positions, so they're doing their best lap times as well, so I can't ask for anything more from them.
You're not wearing headphones, are you using your ESP to communicate? Yeah,
that's right. It's a bit of telepathic communication there, but the boys know what they got to do, so I'm just letting them do their thing. I trust them. But here they go again. They're all.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, look at Rob Hogan, an incredible start. He'd muck around. Look at Dylan Thomas too. Ryan Pring needs to watch out in the 333 green machine. Can he make it stick through here? And look at the wiggle there for Billy Finnegan down the inside. Well, they run a little bit wide. Goodrich in the background in the orange and white machine as well. But Rob Hogan, mate, the moment the safety car left, he was pedal to the metal and absolutely gone.
That is one of the best restarts in history. That was impressive. And Thomas Finnegan and Goodrich are just going to war for the minors. And after leading early, Ryan Pring settling now back into second off this restart. So we'll just get things settled back down. 3 laps left to go here for race 1 for the Legend Cars Australia. Oh, that was Harrigan out of shape. Big time under brakes on board with Asker Sendel.
Oh no, the 93 as well now, taking a bit of a dirt excursion of Blake Haynes, the New South Welshman, all thanks to AF Racing.
That'll have the vacuum cleaner out after this one, cleaning up all the stones and dirt out of the floor.
Very different lines through there, aren't they? Goodrich is on a different sort of setup there, but he gets a nice slingshot at this point through here, where I thought he lost the ball. A lot of inside curve there now. The 2 young guns, Asker Sendel and Aidan Williams in 7th and 8th position. They just go past our screen there. You can see the green and gold in 8th position there. That's Williams. Thomas has nice look at Whiting. Has a look down the inside of Pring. Can he get the run? Because as they come up over the top to 6, there's a lot of dirt. You do not want to be on the outside of that.
What a pass! What a pass from Thomas. Did he pick 2 of them up?
He's been looking for that, I reckon. He knows exactly where he's going to take that opportunity, building up to it.
So that's set up from 1 through 2 to 3, and he's actually getting an inside exit run to get up the inside. That's a good. I thought he did that on the previous lap, but it just didn't get as much gain as it just did then. So Thomas now into the 2nd position. Can he chase down Hogan?
Yeah, on board with good. Oh, this is.
Yeah, it's Goodrich.
That's Goodrich, yeah.
Yep, so just look for the bronzy red and the white.
He's so shallow coming into that final sequence of corners.
Asker Sendel.
That's Asker, yeah, unfortunately. And he was doing so well. He'd moved himself up into 7th position. So
I think that was turn 8, Matt. I think that was 8 down at the hairpin.
He just might have overkicked on his own. It'll be interesting to find that out. As Ryan Pring back into 2nd position. He goes around the outside. We'll have a look at the Hi-Tec Oils replay on board with Asker Sendel. Now Aidan Williams has got past him. Dust flicked up. Let's have a look under brakes here. They're Connell sliding out there. Yeah, just didn't grab it in time, unfortunately. Spun himself. Oh, how close was that too? That's great as they went through.
I think that might have been Tate just sort of slipping through, but I don't know. It didn't look like there was any assistance there. He's just got in there and rotated off the rear.
Well, you can see so many cars in front sliding out of that corner, can't you? So everybody's doing it as we have a look at our leader, Rob Hogan. Still got a little bit of a gap, but the battle really is on for second position, and Ryan Pring is doing everything he can to hold out Dylan Thomas, Billy Finnegan right behind him. Goodridge, well, they're all, you can throw a towel over all of them.
So Pring's got back ahead of Thomas on this lap. On board with Goodridge, having a sneaky little half look down the inside of Finnegan. So where he got the curb there, that's where you don't want to be. It'll just suck all the exit speed out of it. It cost him two, as the checkered flag out, it cost him two. But yeah, checkered flag is out. Hogan will take the win in race number 1 for Legend Cars Australia.
Yep, so we'll have to keep a tally on all these points coming into today. There was only a 32-point difference between Rob Hogan and Ryan Pring, with 100 points up for grabs for a win. This is going to change a few things out there. Right at the end, Aidan Williams just got past Brendan Hurrigan as well, so that's going to be super interesting. At the moment, that is going to take it down to a 29-point deficit for second to Ryan Pring in the championship. And of course, it's also the Australian title. Great start for Rob Hogan, who was very quick at Winton when we were there last round just a few weeks ago as well. And you've got to remember, they also they do a reverse grid in race 3, so that'll change things up a little bit later. So sometimes that really puts a cat amongst the pigeons, and we'll wait and see how we go with our Legend Cars Australia. Great, fantastic first 10-lap race to get things underway. Not too far away, we will have some of our Stock Cars Australian Formula RX8 to lead us into the lunch break. But here's our results from race number 1. The Legend Cars Australia, Rob Hogan gets the win over Ryan Pring and Dylan Thomas in third. Billy Finnegan, well, he was only millimetres behind with Benny Goodridge right on his tail. Aidan Williams got that overtake done in the final few corners over Brendan Hurrigan. And it was Timothy Reid before we go back to Shane Tate, Scotty Morgan to round out your top 10. Nathan Frito up in 11th. That's a great little fight back from him, as we saw the number 30 qualified down in 16th position as well. So a lot going on there. Unfortunately, Asker Sendel spun out. Darren Bradley we saw towed off. And James Brett looks like he got back out on track and got the number 34 going to finish off this race in the Legend Cars Australia. Great to have so many of them here for this fantastic weekend of racing. You see the stock cars are getting ready to come out next, and amongst all those big V8 powered cars is a little giant killer himself, Michael Ricketts in the Pulsar. He is identifying as a stock car this weekend. He's probably would be a starter motor for some of these cars, I'd say, along the way. Jamie?
Is that how we're going to play this one, are we?
That's how we're going to play it.
Identifying as a stock car.
It's going to be, yeah, well, you know, he's about half the size. He could probably go in the boot of some of these Aussie utes. Let's have a look at some of our highlights from the Legend Cars Australia race number 1. And this was the actual start, not the false start I got on a little bit earlier. Ryan Pring still managed to get out in front as we got on board with Goodridge. You see him getting moved around and already push and shove as they go into the first corner. They are not mucking around this weekend.
No, it was certainly very, very busy down to that opening sequence of corners. So that's where Duckworth went off, and that left a whole heap of material on the race surface at turn number 6 on the approach to 7, which would actually catch out Ryan Pring a little bit later on, as Dylan Thomas and Billy Finnegan had a whale of a battle for the minors.
Yeah, it was fantastic watching go through. Benny Goodridge in the background too, just making some moves. We've got Brendan Hurrigan now. These two went out for a bit, then it was the 34, unfortunately, of Brett, who spun out. While we were doing that, we went and recovered Bradley, who was stuck on the infield, had to get a tow car off. Now, Rob Hogan got an incredible restart and opened up about a 10-car lead.
So Dylan Thomas, that's where he sort of started watching him trying to get that inside run as Asker Sendel went around. A couple of close ones there slipping by. And with it being so exciting at the end of this one, with so many laps going on, I clear missed the last lap board.
Well, there's always a fight going on the Legend Cars. Now, this was in second position. Ryan Pring, Dylan Thomas, Billy Finnegan and Ben Goodridge. We didn't know who it was going to be as they came around to the finish line. You never know the little draft down the main straight if they get a run, but Brendan Pring, he's trying to maintain that small lead he's got in the championship. He's had the number 1 for the Aussie title on the door before. Now it's will he change it from the 333 to the number 1? If he can clinch the championship this weekend, this could go right down to the 5th and final race tomorrow, especially with the points difference we've got at the moment, just 29 points between the top two. Let's head down to our race winners now with Mel.
Dylan Thomas, a pretty exciting P3 then.
Yeah, a bit disappointed with P3, to be honest with you. Didn't do a very good job racing. Gave Ryan a bit of an outside mover. Who wants to get passed around the outside? But good racing by the boys. Got a bit physical out there a little bit as well. So I think I've got a little bit of learning to do in this category. Georgie just put a Hi-Tec oil sticker on my car. So thanks, George, for the sponsorship, wherever you are. I'll send an invoice later. Thanks.
Oh, well, 4 more races to move further up.
Yeah, no worries. Cheers.
Thanks, Ryan. P2, exciting finish there, but you were just saying you had a problem with the car.
Just a few issues, but nothing really that big. I just didn't really have the pace for Rob. It was a really good race, though, and a really good race of Dylan Thomas.
And again, still the championship is coming down to the very wire, isn't it?
Yeah, it's close. It's going to be between me and Rob, but we'll see how this weekend goes.
Okay, and our race winner, which I think must make you officially the first race winner at the new One Raceway. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, it's good. It's a good track and it's nice, fast and flowy. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
You actually got a bit of a gap then, which is something we don't always see in this category. So you must be feeling confident now about the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, I got a few issues with the car, but I got the jump on Ryan on the restart there. So I think I caught him sleeping a bit. So, yeah, it was good.
I'm sure he plans to make amends.
He will, I'd say.
Thank you.
Rob Hogan, he doesn't like getting on the screen much, but if you're going to win, you're going to get interviewed, aren't you? So it's great to see them down there. Ryan Pring, obviously worried about his championship at the moment with Rob Hogan. They take that down to the wire. Dylan Thomas, well, he's super quick, and I wonder how much the invoice is going to be for Jamie.
Knowing Dylan, lots.
All right, Stock Cars Australia about to come on. I'm going to head over. I'll let Dan McCarthy come back in here because he knows a lot more about these cars than I do.
Yeah, we get a little bit of diversity across this field. So primarily the stock car class, but there are a couple of inviteds in there with some Falcon touring cars. The Oz cars, of course, is part of the stock cars. And Michael Ricketts identifying as a stock car in the little 2-litre Nissan Pulsar front-wheel drive. So there's a little bit of history out there as well across some of these cars. The Oz car, number 7, they're running as 71. That was former Rodney Jane Oz car back in the day of the halcyon days of the Thunderdome at Calder Park. And Dan, did you get an opportunity to go and catch up with a few of these teams? That was one of the cars that I wanted to know about, the Shell 41. It looks like a genuine Ford Thunderbird old Thunderdome NASCAR. Was that the case?
Correct. It actually started its history in NASCAR. So it raced over in America first, and then was one of the first imported NASCARs over here.
Cool.
Raced for many, many years on the Thunderdome.
So I'm assuming it raced in those colours. Did Dick Johnson run that car?
It wasn't a Dick Johnson run car. We'll come on to that in a minute, but here is the grid. We got the truck, the Oz Truck Silverado on pole position of Danny Burgess, ahead of Daniel Stubbs. Merrick Malouf set a late time to move up to position number 3, ahead of Mark Granger. It's a real big field, as we say. Mitchell Ricketts, O'Connor, Marchese. The field continues to come through. Got lots of Oz cars on the back page, including Lucas Gates, Colin Matten as well. So we've got NASCARs, we've got Oz cars, we've got a few V8 Commodores and Falcons out there, a couple of trucks, and as we say, Michael Ricketts in the Pulsar, who qualified an impressive 3rd position. Don't think he'd do that at many tracks around Australia, but this tight technical circuit certainly lends itself to that machine as we go green and roar towards turn number 1. A good start from 3rd position for Malouf inside. Oh, sorry, that's Mitchell. Brilliant start already up to position number 2 from 5th on the grid in the number 8 truck. So it's a truck 1-2 ahead of the number 19 of Stubbs in the NASCAR. Oh, Ricketts had a look there. Bit of a lock-up. Just about didn't make contact with the Ford Falcon.
So Danny Burgess is your race leader in one of the Oz trucks. Quite distinctive looking machines. They were very, very strong up in Queensland at one stage. I'm pretty sure Peter Robinson, who now imports all of the TA2 cars and runs the TA2 Championship out of Queensland, actually had a hand in getting the Oz trucks and that started up there as well. So quite cool to see some of those guys on track. And the blue one just going through there through shot, I think that's the 8 of Brett Mitchell. You don't see too many Holden Commodore fronted V8 utes. in this sort of configuration. There it is, just going through shot here. Of course, Commodore did the Ute, but they don't look like a Chevy Silverado.
Speaking of, there's a big V8 Ute, the Ford Falcon. Looks like the Ford Falcon Ute that raced in the ever so popular V8 Ute series, or V8 Brutes as it was known in its original days in the early noughties, but wasn't that a fantastic category that raced around Australia for many years? The top three have really pulled away from Granger in the 48 Falcon, who's treating this more like a drifting competition at the moment. You can hear the tyres protesting, sliding out of every single corner, and Ricketts is constantly getting a face full of dust at the moment.
Robert Marchese just in behind them in the white number 84 Oz truck. Yeah, Granger was definitely moving around there in the fourth position in that Falcon. Yeah, the big horsepower boys out in front. Number 19, Daniel Stubbs. So that's sort of more of an ARCA style, sort of ARCA style Monte Carlo body. Pretty much a NASCAR, but just a little bit of a different body shape to some of the more traditional NASCARs that are around the country. Just a couple of the big Mustangs here this weekend that we've seen highlighted in some of the Hi-Tec Super Series rounds earlier on in the year.
Here comes one of the trucks just breezing by Michael Ricketts as if he is standing still. So change of position there. You said about Marchese was on a charge and easily dispatches of the Pulsar. We should explain though, that is not a standard Pulsar. That is a heavily improved machine.
Yeah, since we saw it at Winton with the new side skirts on it, which Michael stayed with, and yeah, look, one of the long-standing supporters of the Hi-Tec Super Series. There wouldn't have been, well, no one's travelled more than Michael Ricketts over the last 2 seasons chasing various categories, mainly Super TT, but didn't have a Super TT class here this weekend, so he decided to join the stock cars. So good to see him out there having a little bit of fun.
Also competes in the 300 races, the Winton 300, the Sydney 300 as well, and his co-driver this year in both of those races was Josh Haynes, who does all right in TA2, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he might be leading a championship at the moment. All right, so you got the 8 of Brett Mitchell here with that Commodore sticker on the front of the. Well, it's actually it's Commodore looking. It's got the Chevy badge in the centre of it. So we got the 7 Oscar machine. That'll be the 71 of Jamie Collier. It's gone gardening. So that's down at the Fishhook at turn 8. So that's one of those sort of braking zones that we've talked about already earlier on in the weekend that I think will be crucial across some of the faster classes. Oh, Granger's gone.
Left rear puncture. No air in that tyre. In fact, it looks like it's come off the rim actually. So a big moment, a hairy moment clearly down there at turns 1 and 2. And Granger is going to bring that to rest on the outside of the circuit. Here is a replay of the 7 Oscar going off all by himself. Just looked to me like a little bit too hot, and around came the rear.
Yeah, locked the rears, and it's just rotated. Granger, you talked about him sort of getting a little bit sideways here. I find he's maybe got a little bit aggressive, but he tripped over the curb and just rocked that bead off all the edge onto the top. Oh, our Shell 41 Thunderbirds pointing in the wrong direction as well. That is Zach O'Hara.
So that car had an accident at Sydney Motorsport Park earlier in the year. It's missed the last couple of rounds, but great to see it back. Not great to see it taking a tour of the grass, but fortunately no damage done, just a harmless spin. It looks like a bit too deep into turn 6, and there is no grip. But we've seen that corner catch people out already, haven't we, in legend cars, and now in this particular race, as we see the Oscar of Matten ahead of Rice in a much more modern machine. So we've got the Oscar Commodore from back in the day, and then the more saloon standard looking 108 machine directly behind that.
Yeah, not too sure what Michael Rice usually runs that car and potentially improve production. But it is very, very different.
He's been a regular when this category's gone to Victoria the last couple of rounds at Winton, and at Coulter Park that car was in the running. So I've seen that one a couple of times out there. Great to see he's made the trip up north to New South Wales this weekend.
All right, still your Burgess is your race leader. The Oz Trucks 1 and 2. With the 19 Monte Carlo at Daniel Stubbs in third, Ricketts in fourth. Bit of a giant killing performance continuing to hold off this 84 Oz truck of Robert Marchese.
JC came from reasonably far back in the field, so he's had to move through the field and done so pretty quickly. Yeah, qualified down in 8th position and didn't make up any ground early on in the opening couple of laps, but it's been recently, it's so dusty.
Oh, yeah.
That's just caught him out entirely, and around he goes.
So very, very tricky conditions with a few going off track, and he's going to struggle to rejoin here. Does a good job to do it. So that'll drop the 84 back down the order with a couple of cars having gone past us. The Monte Carlo of Stubbs is now chasing down the 8 of Mitchell for second. Your race leaders 3 seconds up the road. Burgess, Danny Burgess in the orange number 7 Oz truck.
They're about to get to the rally stage of the course. It is so dusty up here. Let's see if these guys get caught out. You can visibly see just how much dust and debris there is, and that did catch Mitchell out, I think, initially on turn in there, and it's compromised his switch back around turn number 5. Look at how dusty and dirty that piece of road is as they head down the hill towards the turn number 8 and 9 section of the course. Look a little bit further back though, the 304 machine. I think it might have a few problems. You wouldn't expect this car to be back fighting with these machines, but down the straight it'll certainly have a horsepower advantage and retake Matten up the inside. There is a bit of an Oscar fight. There's an Oscar class. There's a fight within a fight, and that championship's very, very tight actually up the front of the field. So we will keep an eye on that as this race and as the weekend continues. There is, as I say, a great fight in the Oscar battle.
I have seen around the country a lot of these Oscars coming back out of the sheds. A lot of them have been in storage for a long, long time. So it's good to see some of these cars back out on track, and some of them have a lot of history as the 304 of Heppelston just drops the left side off the run through that sort of 5, 6 and 7 zone where we've got a lot of material on the racetrack. Back to the race leader, 7 of Danny Burgess, and we have seen him a couple of times with the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series over the last couple of seasons. Very, very quick truck. Not lacking for horsepower. Quite a distinctive, they're very, very different to the traditional NASCAR trucks, so a lot lower in the body profile, running some of the older sort of Silverado bodies, full fiberglass body by the looks of it sitting on top of those cars. Not dissimilar to a NASCAR chassis, but as I said, I'm pretty sure they sort of started life out of Queensland with the input of Peter Robinson before we got into the TA2 program, so cool to have them here this weekend, obviously with the TA2s as well.
Yeah, it's sort of a one-make series that ran up there for a bit of time, but in recent times, many of them, a large majority of them, in fact, have found a home here in this series. And we've got 5 of the trucks here this weekend, which is the most I've seen in a Stock Cars Australia round. So we've got 5 trucks, we've got 5 Oscars. It's absolutely fantastic to see some of these machines come out of the sheds and back out onto the racetrack. I was at Coulter Park when these cars were last on the track. It was awesome to see a few demo laps with some NASCARs and some Oscars around the Great Thunderdome. It really was a spectacle, and I tell you what, the fans certainly flocked to the fence line to see that.
Well, there's a big market for the NASCARs coming into both sides of the Tasman, mainly for drivetrains and engines for different categories with sports sedans and things like that. Is the race leader now into some traffic, so Burgess just negotiating some of those Oscars a little bit further back through the field. So a lot of the sports sedans and some of the different categories over in New Zealand, you can buy the NASCARs relatively inexpensively out of America, and they're not lacking. They're 900 horsepower. Drive lines, a lot of the stuff is very, very new because the NASCAR teams replace that stuff so much and so quickly. So there's quite a few cars on both sides of the Tasman that have come in out of the US from the NASCAR team owners.
Let's not forget there really is a rejuvenated interest in NASCAR, of course, particularly in this country with Shane Van Gisbergen over there. But, of course, he's a Kiwi, so there's a lot of Kiwi interest in NASCAR at the moment as well. As the leader continues to make his way past lap traffic, somebody's had an off-track excursion down towards the final sequence of corners, so the race leader can't see much. He can only just about see the car ahead. Look at all the dust. It just, as you say, there's no wind, it's settling. There's a fight on further back for position number 2, but Stubbs isn't going to quite be able to get there. Mitchell is going to hold on, but didn't lap traffic play a factor late in that one. The race winner, though, is going to be Burgess in the number 7. Silverado truck. Second place across the line was Mitchell, the margin 2.2 seconds, and just half a second behind in the end, Danny Stubbs.
Yeah, and Michael Ricketts, giant-killing performance with a fourth place finish overall. With our first race of the weekend for the Stock Cars Australia lineup, there is your race winner 1, 2 and 3, line astern from the first race. And I would expect to see those three probably at the pointy end throughout the weekend. Might be a little bit of a track clean-up to do after that one, because there is a lot of material off track, and that dust storm we saw kicked up by one of the cars further back in the field, it was almost like looking through the misty rain where you couldn't see anything at all on the racetrack.
I thought we were in the Dakar Rally.
Yeah, just about.
You can see as they go on the inlap just the dust around that section of the course. But here are the results.
Danny Burgess with victory in race 1 for Stock Cars Australia here at One Raceway from Brett Mitchell, Daniel Stubbs, Michael Ricketts in the not NASCAR Nissan Pulsar, Robert Marchese, Brendan O'Connor, Damien Sullivan, Lucas Gates, Michael Heffelston, another one of the Osh trucks going back outside of the 10, Michael Rice, Zach O'Hara, Brad Light and Jamie Hollier, Mark Granger and Merrick Malouf, who I don't think finished this first race here at One Raceway, Goulburn, New South Wales. So we'll have a look at some of the highlights from this first one with the Formula RX8s to come. Nice clean start with Stubbs and Burgess off the front row. We could see them this time. Later on the race we couldn't see much with some of the dust and that picked up. That's where Stubbs conceded the second position to Mitchell early on in the race. Stubbs tried hard to stay with him, but Mitchell just had him covered. This was one of the Oz cars going off, the ex-Rodney Jane, number 7, running a 71 this weekend, Jamie Hollier. Just shows you how dry it is. There hasn't been a lot of rain here in Goulburn over the last couple of weeks, I'm going to say. And the 41 also going off, that was Zach O'Hara in that restored, genuine Thunderbird NASCAR. Marchese went off and rotated, and that was just the dirty track with a few of the drivers going on up at the 5, 6 and 7 area. And even the 8s of Mitchell had a little bit of a moment up the top there as well, as Stubbs continued to apply the pressure as Burgess was working his way through lap traffic. The Oz truck sneaking down the inside of one of the many Oz cars. That was the number 2 of Colin Matten. Further back we had battles right through the field as the leaders continued to negotiate lap traffic, with the 7 of Burgess taking victory from Mitchell and Stubbs.
That's a great way to kick things off in the Stock Cars Australia series. Certainly eventful, lots of drama, twists and turns throughout, but a good race overall.
We're just waiting to catch up with our top 3 down on pit lane. Beautiful shots here. Let's cross down to Mel with the top 3 in Stock Cars Australia.
The first thing I noticed with all of these guys is you have to daisy duke it and climb out the window.
Yeah, that's it. No doors, so into the window, out of the window.
So exciting race there. There was dust that was overtaking. You were pretty close in the end.
Yeah, real close. Almost got him. There's a bit of lap traffic and I almost got around him. Had 2 wheels in the dirt, but he blocked me out. But yeah, it was good. I didn't quite get the start I wanted. So I was behind Brett, but yeah, it was a good race.
Thank you. P2, Brett Mitchell, he nearly had you at the end there.
I wouldn't know. I don't look in the mirror. That's what I've found in the past. You just don't look forward, don't look back.
So you had a bit of lap traffic in the last lap or 2 there?
Yeah, it was helping me catch Danny. I was pulling him in a bit by bit, but we got here this morning. We didn't do practice yesterday, so we'll come to grips quicker as the day goes on. With a couple of tweaks we'll do.
Look forward to it.
We'll be up there with him by the end.
Danny Burgess, P1, you had quite a bit of a gap there in that first race.
Yeah, awesome. My first win in the category, and Goulburn's my home track, so yeah, pretty cool.
Oh, perfect start to the weekend. It's so good to see these beautiful cars out there.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun, and yeah, a bit of lap traffic at the end made it interesting, but no, awesome.
It sounds like he's coming to get you in the next race.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll get a fair bit closer as the weekend goes on, but yeah, good first race, so.
Well done.
Thank you.
Oh, there we go. Great to see our stock cars, the V8 Rumble out there, and that little car, the Mighty Mouse that's in amongst the mix. It's identifying as a V8 at the moment. Michael Ricketts. He's always great. And he's a great supporter of the series too, so big shout out to him. Great to have him here this weekend, but great to see the stock cars getting around. We got something very different about to come out on track, which is a bit of a replica sort of Formula One. It's a Formula Ferrari that's going to come out with Brad Gartner doing a couple of laps behind the wheel. Now, you and I both noticed that this car early in the weekend is Ford powered, with the Ford V8 power plant in it. So very different seating position for Brad. He's almost lying down like Formula One style, but it's got the Ford Performance Racing valley covers on.
Yeah, I tried to ask the guys about the car earlier on this morning, but they were pretty busy trying to get it prepped. So, like, it's stick it up as a Ferrari chassis-wise and body-wise, so sort of 50s, but yeah, with what looks to be a small block Ford in the back of it. Mel, you got some more down there?
Yes, here with Rob Logan. Rob, what a beautiful piece of machinery this is. Brad's about to be lucky enough to take it out on track, but tell us about this amazing car.
Yeah, thank you, Melinda. It's a replica of a Formula One car. I wanted a Formula 5000, but they're too dangerous. You switch them on, they try and kill you. So I decided to build myself one, and so this is the first one. And we have 4 or 5 different bodies for it. So we've got a Gurney Eagle for it, and we have a Lotus 49. So I loved 67 before they put slicks and wings on them, and so I thought I'd build myself one. And so I did.
Well, it looks absolutely beautiful, and I can't wait to hear it when they start it up and listen to it head around the track.
Yeah, it's got a GT40 crossover exhaust system on it, so it'll have a nice rip to it. So it's a Ford Windsor 302 with an 8-barrel injection running Motec M84, and yeah, just a nice little cruiser, really.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Hopefully we get to see more of these out on racetracks in the future.
I hope so as well. Yeah, thanks very much, Lynd.
Thank you.
Oh, Motec controlling that one. That one's going to be interesting. All 302.
Funny you was talking about the Formula 5000s being dangerous. I'm looking at that, and Brad Gardner sitting inside a bathtub. You know, going back to the heyday of the 5000, the Lola limp for a reason when they took the fronts off the cars and your feet are out there. So okay, so it's obviously a replica thing with some different body styles, with the Gurney Westlakes and the Ferrari style here, just with a common engine and power plant. It did really look the part down there, and there's a lot of work gone into the car. Looking at all the front uprights and the suspension and everything, there's quite a lot of work gone on there, and what a cool thing to be able to do.
What do you think you're doing as Brad Gartner? I mean, I know he likes to go fast. He is speed. I see him sit there and meditate. He is speed. But there's a lot of dust down the track at the moment, and that is a very unique car to be driving around. This might be a fun lap, but I wouldn't want to be taking it at full pace.
It's a beautiful looking car. I'll take nothing away from the guys that have built it. It is very, very cool looking. And it does sound cool with the crossover GT40 exhaust on it. I've got quite a comprehensive plastic model collection at home, and I've just added the John Surtees RA22 Honda Formula One car. Now, going back when those cars were running, the engines actually sat sideways in the back of those cars, and the noise, I've seen some of the videos on Facebook and YouTube of some of those cars running back in the heyday in the 50s and that, they sounded absolutely ungodly. But no, that is a very, very neat looking piece of kit. Now the other TA2 teams will be looking on and going, hey, come on, Gartner's doing more laps. That's an advantage. What's going on here?
I reckon he's doing some pretty sedate laps at the moment. I don't think that's going to be at full pace.
Yeah, I'm going to say someone said to it, do not bend it. Because there'll be some zeros tallied up after this one, I'm thinking.
If you bend it, you bought it. Is that how it goes? It's still a great looking vehicle to have out there, and it would be like a very historic way to have a few of these out on track at the moment. Simplified power plants and chassis.
Well, some of the historic meetings around the country, Matt, are so well supported now. There's a huge amount of cars being imported into the country, coming out of sheds from various places around the country and getting restored for the different historic categories, and some of the big race meetings around the country, which are getting bigger and bigger. Historic touring cars. Recent math, there's 55 heritage touring cars at that event, and man, well, there's some seriously expensive cars there in that mix. Plus, for the first time in a long time, you had the 05 and the 25, last of the big banger Marlboro BK Commodores, Brocky and John Harvey, paired up in New Zealand. They were supposed to run, but the Bowden family couldn't get the new wheels made for them in time, so it's got the original Momos on them, and the magnesium wheels are all cracked in that, and they weren't allowed to run them. So the intention was to actually run those two cars on the mountain side by side. So if you get the opportunity, two very, very significant cars in Australian motorsport.
Well, we see some laps out here, some great footage though of the newly refurbished One Raceway here. Have a look at that. Obviously still trying to get the grass back. It is the first national car meet we've had at this track since it's reopened. Really only the Superbikes have been here and a couple of track days. There hasn't been a lot of running on here. We did see the sprinklers on Friday laying down a lot of water, but it is soaking into the ground around here. Incredible when you look in the background, you see those massive sound barrier hills that they built here. Obviously, we know there's been a lot going on behind that and trying to keep the noise down for the residents around here. Let's have a listen though to this number 7, this Formula Ferrari with the beautiful V8 Ford engine inside. I'll have to take it off his lap time for sure. He could have improved on his lap time. Oh, look at listen to the burble of that. Beautiful GT40 crossover exhaust on
the amount of work that's gone into that exhaust system alone is staggering. Like it is. If you get an opportunity here this weekend, come and check the car out. It is a pretty cool looking car.
Yeah, I think it's garage 5 or 6 might be stationed down in, so you get an opportunity to come down and have a talk to the owner as well, because the amount of work in there, you can see, really takes you back to the days, the suspension setup in that thing, the chassis style, the body styling is absolutely gorgeous. The Ferrari red really suits that body style, doesn't it? Brad Gartner, obviously, pretty lucky to be doing a few laps in it.
As I said, we talked about the Formula 5000s being dangerous. You go off on one of these, there is not a lot around you. And when you start taking corners off, that's why they started calling them canoes, because that's what they resemble with no wheels on them.
Well, he'll bring that one back into pit lane there, and we'll settle that car down. Of course, we've got the Formula RX8, which just made their way out into the form-up grid area, and it won't be too long till we get their first race underway for the weekend, because still some championship points to be had in the Formula RX8s this weekend, and a championship to be decided, the inaugural championship winner. And we've got some brand new names to the Rotary paddock this year, including Rob Bowden, who's come out of his E36 BMW racing in like under 2 litre improved production and other categories like that. He's second in the championship, and he's got to make up a 16-point deficit at the moment. Of course, they also dropped their worst round, which makes us calculating that just a little bit different at the moment, as we'll keep on top of that as much as we possibly can. As we can see the Formula Ferrari pull in, the steering wheel come off. Brad Gartner, well, he's probably going to have a massive smile on his face after the opportunity to get to drive this absolutely magnificent machine there. As we'll get his helmet off, you can see the sun is beaming here in Goulburn. It's an absolutely perfect day to go racing, especially in this good part of Australia. Let's head down to Mel, though, and find out what Brad thought about that.
We needed your helmet off for this one to see the smile on your face. How was that?
Yeah, so cool. Yeah, it's pretty tough to drive. Obviously, I didn't want to push it, but no, really cool car to drive. Couldn't imagine driving it back in the 60s.
So should we mention the missed gear change as you came down the straight?
No, I was too nervous. Sometimes when you drive it, too nice, you make more mistakes. So I knew everyone was watching, everyone had their phones out, so I was just taking it easy. But yeah, a couple of missed gear changes.
Oh, they're born to go fast, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, plenty of power that I didn't use.
It's a very different feeling when you don't have a roof over your head, isn't it?
Yeah. With the TA2, we don't have any windows, but sometimes run the visor up a little bit. By turn 2, I shut that down. So yeah, plenty of wind around the face. So can't thank them all for the opportunity enough. So thank you very much.
What a fun experience.
Yeah, he won't be taking it easy when it comes to the TA2 muscle car fight. He's about to get in after lunch this afternoon. He's got a top 8 shootout to worry about. He was nearly a second faster than anyone else out there. And look, this is a bit of fun for Brad Gartner, but if he misses a couple of gear shifts in that one, That'll turn that smile to a frown.
Game over. Surprised, not probably the word. Like, Josh Haynes, all he needed to do to get out there was put a lap in there. So we don't know how hard he was going compared to Brad. But Brad's lap was certainly very, very impressive. But to have that big a gap, over 2.3 kilometres at the moment, that's a big gap.
Yeah, you can see plenty of viewing here at the new One Raceway in Goulburn. And we got all of our beautiful animals in the background that surround us here in this farmland. Hence you'll see those big sound barriers that have been built around the place. We've had the sheep and the cows out this morning giving us what have they been doing? They've been mooing and barring away in the background, serenading us this morning.
Is that a Kiwi, Dick?
No.
Okay, just checking. Speaking of big, how big are the camera lenses? It's only 2.3 kilometres. It's not like we're at the bend trying to shoot out of space.
Oh, have a look at them. The RX-8s will line up now for their inaugural season. The final decider here at One Raceway after 5 rounds. It all comes down to this 6th and final weekend. 4 races. Can Brock Payne continue on and take out the championship? Wouldn't it be great to be the inaugural championship winner? Rob Bowden, well, he's fallen another point behind after qualifying because obviously Brock Payne got him by 5 thousandths of a second. That was absolutely incredibly close.
I think it was 5 10,000ths. It was 0.0. Was it 0.005? 10,000, sorry.
Yes, we'll line them up. One of our only categories that will have a standing start here this weekend. Brock Payne on the inside, Rob Bowden on the outside. In the front row, then it's Geoff, Connell and Ivan Vantagiato. Justin Lewis and Thomas Derwin on the third row. Ed and Philippi, the young gun, alongside Stacey Vickers and Jamie Connell and Jason Geller on the 5th row of the grid. Now, Ivan Vantagiato, this will be the biggest celebration. He has been down visualising a race when he got on the podium last round, and if he can get a race win here, I think we're going to see he's going to put Van Gisbergen to shame, I reckon, with the celebrations.
That was one of the best post-race interviews I've seen and heard for a long, long time at the previous round. But yeah, Van's been doing a great job. Look, this championship's on the line. Both of them off the front row have had a couple of little dramas through the weekend so far, but Geoff Connell back there in that white number 4, if any of them sneeze, he will be right there on top of them. Justin Lewis, not in the usual number 50 yellow express machine. He's in the black number 11 with the yellow wheels as we go on board with Dew and carry her on board off the race start down through turns 1, 2 and 3.
Race leaders going side by side, and on the outside, Rob Bowden managed to get past Brock Payne. That's incredible. We saw Dylan Thomas and Ryan Pring tussling it out very similar like in the Legends.
So Bowden's got the early jump here as we're back on board with Dew, and that's Justin Lewis just up ahead in the 11. We're used to seeing the 50, but look for the day-glow yellow wheels on Justin Lewis. He went through 2 cars in the previous round, so this is his 3rd different chassis in 2 rounds.
Yeah, he's had a couple of little engine dramas there, and he said, you know what, I wasn't going to fix it. I was just getting me brother's loaner car. I'm going to bring it down this weekend. And he hasn't been too far off the pace either, sitting in 5th position after qualifying. Ivan Vantagiato is up into 3rd, so he's got past Geoff Connell now. Spoke to him just a little bit earlier. He said, a couple of laps to get the tyres last time in qualifying. We didn't quite get the tyre pressures right, so maybe again you might see him pick up in the back end of this race.
You can see the differing lines that drivers are trying to get through that last sort of complex / carousel / what did Dan call it, the bowl sort of part, the new part of the racetrack. So a shallow approach, a deep approach. You can probably get away with running through the middle in these cars, but not some of the bigger tyre, bigger horsepower cars. Back on board with Derwin. That's Lewis just up ahead, so Derwin back in the 6th position. Connell 4th in the 4, and like you said, just looking like it's taking a little bit to get the tyres up to 10th. That was probably the biggest conversation out of RX8 qualifying, was where to go with tyre pressures with the new Nankang tyres.
Well, we'll wait and see whether Rob Bowden can hold out Brock Payne. It's not going to be enough, even if he wins all 4 races here, to get past Payne's championship lead at the moment, considering it's only 1 point between them when you go down from a win to a 2nd place to a 3rd, only 1 point difference. So, but anything could happen, especially we've seen a little bit of dirt being kicked up around places that can really catch you off guard. Ivan Vantagiato, he might get on his 2nd podium here. It's very early in the race, but he has visualised the number 1 coming into this weekend, and he is looking to take 1 race win here at some point, and it will be the biggest celebration that we have seen.
He was very, very shallow on the approach to 11 that time, whereas the leaders are taking a different line there. So, again, there is definitely some different theories on how to get through there and get through there properly on board with Derwin. I think someone was just trying to sneak up the inside. Philippi, I think, was in there in the 42.
Derwin in the 42. Philippi behind on Justin Lewis. So Derwin in the 42, just on your screen now, 5th position. Justin Lewis holding out for 6th. Oh, Ed Philippi, the young gun, goes to the outside, catches a hole over dirt, and Stacey Vickers will be right on the rear bar now as they head down into the fishhook.
That was pretty much, he just couldn't get it turned. He had turn on, but it just wanted to keep going straight forward. So Philippi was struggling there, and that's not for the first time that I've seen that this weekend across just about all of the categories. A relatively not awkward looking corner, but if you get the approach line wrong, it'll run you wide up there, and then that compromises 6 and the run down the hill on the approach to that sort of deep braking zone at 8.
Thomas Derwin's pushing at the moment. That first sector on the last lap was incredible, actually, an 18.90, fastest one we've seen of the race. So we'll just wait and see if he can push on and try and catch up to Geoff Connell, who's in 4th position. But this is our race leaders and our championship fighters at the moment. Rob Bowden currently second in the championship by 16 points over Brock Payne, leading. But now he's in 2nd position in the TFH Hire, number 33 entry. He's been strong all season, though. He had 9 wins in a row, Brock Payne. He come to an unfortunate end at Winter Motor Raceway last round, but he managed to get back on the top step of the podium in the final race. Will he continue on another winning streak? Potentially he could. Rob Bowden's going to have to do a little bit of elbows out blocking, I'd say, in some parts of this track.
Yeah, Bowden looking pretty comfortable there. At the moment, they sort of seem to be a little bit better in different parts of the racetrack. So Bowden got a very, very good run out of 8 that time. Payne was right there underneath the back bumper, under brakes into 8, but on drive down, Bowden seems to be a little bit better. So they changed a rear main seal in that car. I thought they'd gone into Goulburn to sort it, but they actually went back to Canberra, which is not a whole distance away. It's only about an hour away. So they got that sorted overnight because the oil that was leaking there was actually getting onto the clutch. So he was battling with a slipping clutch yesterday, but he was still at the pointy end of the timesheets in practice, Matt.
Yeah, and it got worse as the day went on. They did say when they pulled that gearbox out last night to look at the rear main, there was a lot of oil on the clutch assembly, and they were hoping that it was going to be fine with the cleanup. Looks like that has done the trick. Of course, we've seen the coil pack issue there for Brock Payne as well, and that slight oil cooler leak as well they've fixed. So, our front runners working hard. Avant Vanagiato with some setup changes. He said he missed it in practice 2 and 3 yesterday, didn't quite find the right spot. He was only 0.2 of a second off those front gun guys though, which is great for a guy who's come into the series in his first season of bitumen racing. I mean, he spends a lot of time in the seat behind the computer doing the sim racing, but to actually get out here in the environment and get the smells and I suppose and the sensation, he's doing a fantastic job in his first season. Now Geoff Connell, we've talked about it, we're on lap 5 now, and look at the gap he's closed up on Avant. The tyres are coming on for him and he's finding it much better. Brock Payne changes his line to follow Rob Bowden, which he wasn't doing before. He was unique coming through there compared to Rob.
So as small as this place is, you can get punished for getting your lines wrong through the corner, and it just takes all the exit speed out. A little bit of debris there on the track up against the wall. I think it's just maybe a little bit of tape or something, but yeah, certainly Connell's starting to come back towards Vanagiato, but if you mess your line up at a couple of crucial points of this lap, it really, really hurts your lap. So as small as it is, and talking to a lot of the drivers, they've all said how technical one raceway is, even at just 2.35 kilometres long.
Van, he's a little bit defensive there at the moment, just made sure Connell didn't have any gap to go into. Brock Payne, what do you do at this point in the 33? I mean, this track's probably going to be a little bit more difficult to overtake if you're matched in speed, and we saw it in qualifying, 5 thousandths of a second pretty much means they're going the same speed into every corner down the main straight. Probably a little bit more difficult to overtake, with matching speed cars. Second in every race is still going to get him home.
Yeah, absolutely. And for that, look, the advantage is with Payne. He doesn't need to do anything silly, but you want to get to the guy in front of you and push them into a mistake. That's where the passing opportunity is going to make, because there's still a couple of breaking points where, and looking at Vanagiato here at the moment, that car is moving around a lot more than Connell's. Very, very different lines there through 1, 2 and 3. And Vanagiato's car looks a lot softer, so maybe a spring change. It's moving around a lot more, and I reckon he's maybe just on top of starting to overheat the tyre, because Derwin's coming to them as well with our onboard camera, and there's nothing in it now for 3rd, 4th and 5th.
interestingly enough, Derwin has the fastest first sector, Payne has the fastest second sector, and Bowden has the fastest third sector. So, again, they're strong in different parts of the racetrack, and that might be the... you can't really make a lot of change with this car. Obviously, the suspension setup and that's all very controlled. You can do the adjustments to it, tyre pressures, things like that. That's where the little difference is going to come. Is Brock Payne now, he might be another one who changed his tyre strategy set up there, because he is closing the gap down to Rob Bowden in front now, and that is under 0.3 of a second, and he is all over the rear bar and possibly looking for an overtaking manoeuvre at the front as he just pulled out to the left, and they're going to draft. I thought they might have tried to draft down here, but we saw Bowden do it in the opening lap where he went around the outside, and there's a potential to do it because it is a really wide corner. And if you want to do that, you might get the drive. And have a look at this. We saw it in the Legend cars now as the RX-8s. Payne's going to try and hold on. He picks up a little bit of dirt. Can he do it? Bowden might still have the nose, but no. Payne can get him under brakes. He slides the car in. That was a nice slide.
That's impressive. Bowden's still there, though. Bowden's still there as Payne was just out in the dirty stuff. Bowden to the inside. Here comes Vanagiato. Here comes Connell. Here comes Derwin. They're still side by side on the run down to 8. Breaking downhill as Payne drops the left side wheels off. He's got the inside line. They're still side by side. Who said about no passing?
Well, they're not. They're side by side.
They're not now.
Two cars wide, but Payne holds on and manages to slip through into first position. Rob Bowden, that was impressive. They gave each other racing room. Now, Connell, have a look at this for third position on the inside of Ivan Vanagiato. He had a little bit of a look. Wasn't going to happen. Willie set himself up with a different line. It's all about the drive out of 13 here down the main straight. And will we see a similar move? He's just watched Brock Payne do it. Can he do the same thing? Will he pull out? Rob Bowden doesn't look like he's got the pace to do it. Oh, shoots down the inside. Massive moment there.
Payne lost straight line speed. That was bizarre. He's definitely... Something's happened there with Payne. This could be crucial. He's coming back into it now, but it's almost like he put the parachute out because...
You think he missed the
gear,
potentially?
Well, that's what I'm just about was thinking when you said it, that maybe he's missed a gear because it nearly stopped. That's how big a speed difference Bowden had on him. When Payne went to the top of him on the previous lap, he set that up probably half a lap earlier and just got a different line run off the final corner. And just they went side by side. That was such a huge speed difference that you've got to think that maybe Payne has simply missed a gear.
We'll have to see how it all unfolds as we get through the back section of here. We're obviously on lap 9 of 11 for this race. Great start to the Formula RX8's weekend. Qualifying was super impressive, and now we come down to race number 1, championships to be decided this weekend. The inaugural championship for the Formula RX8.
Vanagiato's looking really racy here. He's right now on the back bumper of Payne. So Payne all of a sudden, I reckon Payne's got an issue. Vanagiato's pulling up alongside.
Well, it could be something with the gearbox issue because we are getting reports that he missed a gear down the main straight. They can hear it going down.
Ivan's wide. Connell might take advantage of it. He tried to get to the outside of Payne. He gave him a little bit of a don't argue, and Vanagiato opened up the wheel and just ran a little bit wide, and that's allowed Connell up into the third position.
You wonder whether they're not using top gear anywhere except down that main straight. You think maybe he's got a problem with top gear?
They 5th or 6th, or they 4th? 5th.
Well, I think they only have 5 speed.
5 speed, so he may be struggling. I'm not too sure if they go into 5th, but it looks like where there's a gear shift there's potentially he's struggling to get it through the gate or something because it just takes 5 or 6 Ks out of it. And Vanagiato nearly drove around the outside of him, and when he got the down change back into 1, 2, 3, he's back on the pace again. So let's see what happens this time.
Yeah, that might be that whatever gear they use down the main straight is not wanting to be there. As you can see, Derwin moving all over. Ivan Vanagiato took that opportunity, unfortunately, didn't pay off. And Geoff Connell, well, he's a patient man. He has just sat there and waited for his opportunity. Rob Bowden now has a little bit of a gap. He'll be excited about this one. And Geoff Connell caught him up, but maybe not as much this time for Brock Payne.
Yeah, if anything, actually Payne's gained out of that because Connell was sort of just off the racing line on turn into 1. And it took a little bit of exit out of it, so it's taken a little bit of pressure off Payne. It's Vanagiato trying to come back at Connell. Fastest lap of the race goes to this car, Derwin, with a 1:10.08. And 3 different drivers top the 3 different sectors. Ooh, that was a big handful for Derwin there.
Well, he's busy, wasn't he? Great on
board shot. It just snapped.
Well, if you thought the racing wasn't exciting, that definitely got it. We are in the final lap and the final few corners to get around here in this first race. So they head down into what we're calling the bowl now, 11, 12 and 13, the final sectors.
Let's go with the bowl.
Slingshot out Rob Bowden. He's going to be happy about this after going all the way back to Canberra last night to pull a gearbox out and fit a rear main seal. He'll get the win over Brock Payne and Geoff Connell rounding out your top three. What a way to finish this race. Great start from everybody. And I tell you what, Rob Bowden's going to be fantastic for him to get an interview because he said, I've always had to talk to Mel because I've been in second position. I didn't get a chance to get Jared. Jared's not here this weekend, so he gets to talk to Mel again. But the top step of the podium for race number 1, and he'll close that gap back down to 15 points in this championship, and you've got to stay on top of it. Remembering what happened at Winton, where he actually went into a tyre barrier, they've had to do a fair bit of panel damage work on that front left. Brand new windows gone in the car. They've put a rebuilt motor in the car, or a reconditioned engine into that car as well, because they borrowed one back at the bend after they hurt their engine. That did the bend and last race with us, so it was just a little bit tired. So fresh engine that. So he's had a fair bit of work to do in the back half of this season.
So if you need an engine changed, a gearbox change, or some new panels hung on your Mazda RX-8, just go and see Rob down in the pits. They're really good at it.
Yeah, him and the crew, they've had to rewrap that side of the car as well. So it's been a busy 3 weeks for them. They have been absolutely flat out outside of their normal work commitments and doing a lot of hours in the shed, and he's going to be super excited about that one. I'll have to wait and find out what happened to Brock Payne down that main straight. It'll be super interesting to check out the Hi-Tec oils. Highlights here of race 1 of the Formula RX-8s, and a great start. They were side by side, and I was really loving this because going into turn number 1, we saw our championship contenders go door to door.
Yeah, well and truly, off the start, they were actually side by side, but Bowden got the early advantage. You see there, Vaneggiato was just struggling on turn in there to turn number 11. Bowden sort of looked like he had things under control, and it was sort of seesawing backwards and forwards where they were sort of better than each other at a couple of different points of the racetrack. At one stage, Payne actually lost about 6 car lengths on the straight, but from about now, that's when he started setting up this run where he would try and get around Bowden to the race leaders, Vaneggiato and Connell. Were sort of battling each other as Connell came on stronger. This was the opportunity. Payne to the outside, and for the next half a lap, they pretty much went side by side. Some fantastic racing.
Yeah, I thought there was a lot of respect shown between these two races at this point as they just gave each other enough room. Luckily, there's a little bit of runoff in some of these corners here, and as they went over the top in turns 6 and 7, Payne, well, he almost went off the track and manages to pull it up under brakes there, but Bowden was still side by side with them at this point as they head down into the fish hook. And it was great racing. Eventually, Brock Payne will get in front, and then something just happened down the straight. We think a gear miss possibly, although later on we did see a very similar thing happen. So not quite sure if he may be chasing another mechanical gremlin where we're only seeing that sort of gear work being used down the main straight, because after that, he's right back on the rear bar of Rob Bowden. Unfortunately, he wasn't going to have enough pace towards the end of the race. Geoff Connell took advantage of Vaneggiato, making a few mistakes there, got into 3rd position while all that was happening. But in the background, Thomas Derwent, for me, up into 5th position, and really within a second of our leaders there to cross the finish line. So very close top 5 really when we talk about it. But let's head down to our winners now in pit lane.
Geoff Connell, P3, you were just saying it's hard to pass here, but you certainly managed a few good passes in that one.
Yeah, got Ivan there at the end, but yeah, it was awesome, close race. We struggled a bit early, and then we were probably the quickest car at the end. Just couldn't get past anywhere. Where the guys in front, they're so competitive and consistent. It's you almost need them to make a mistake to get through at this place. So yeah, it was good fun anyway.
You've got the cheer squad over here.
Yeah, it's cool. Like I said earlier, they've been watching on TV. The coverage has been unreal all year. So then for them to be able to come here and see it in real life, that's great. So yeah, testament to the footage.
Well done. Brock Payne, P2, it looked like you may have a little bit of a problem there at the end.
Yeah, I had a great race with Rob there. We pretty much went side by side for nearly the full track, I felt. But yeah, 4th gear, so no 4th gear, so I had to manage with 3rd and 5th at the end there. So quick turnaround for race 2 this afternoon, so we'll get a new gearbox in it and be out there.
Pretty good effort, I think, with a few gears short.
Yeah, thank you. It was hard work, but I managed to keep him behind me.
Well done. Rob, you're stuck talking to me again, even though you have won. Well done.
Appreciate it. That was a tough race. We got the jump, which is
if you're off in the front row, whoever gets the jump's going to be leading. So that was good. Still had a slipping clutch out there, so we haven't quite fixed the problem, but made a bit of a mistake. Brock got past me, and then he made a similar mistake, and we were side by side for probably half the lap there. It was really good racing, and great respect from him as well. It was a good race.
Yeah, it was a brilliant race. The two of you together and puffs of dirt and flames coming out. It was all happening.
Yeah, that's it. Big credit to everyone who stayed up last night back in Canberra trying to fix issues with this car. So especially Jeremy, Dan and Rick for giving us a hand. I appreciate it.
Looks like the call to put a new engine in is paying off so far.
Yeah, it's got plenty of horsepower. I just wish everything else would play ball. But we'll be there or thereabouts as long as we keep the rest of the weekend pretty clean.
Well done.
Well, it looks like Brock Payne's crew, the runner-up, but they got a little bit of work to do, and yes, missing fourth gear down that straight. It's the only place on the whole track they're going to use, which is why we see him not at a disadvantage through the rest of the lap. Jamie, it's been an incredible start to the weekend here, of course. We're going to have a short break. We'll be back at 1 p.m. for our live coverage. I'm excited about this afternoon.
So am I, mate. Absolutely so am I. And we'll start it with the top 8 shootout for the TFH Hire TA2 Muscle Car Series, framed by Hi-Tec Steel Framing.
So get yourself a break. Be back at 1 p.m. as we go live for the 6th and final round of the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series.